friends, do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
This would have made more sense if Restream's title card creator hadn't glitched. We're going with it anyway, so hang tight. So full disclosure, Restream glitched out. This episode is not from yesterday. It's actually today. So happy Friday Eve to everybody working for the weekend. But the opening of it was supposed to read, there's a showdown brewing. And that's why I wanted to open with the good, the bad, and the ugly. Or as Denny just put it, the good, the bad, and the Ricky. I mean, I know I have a face made for radio, but I'm taking that a little personally. I'm just saying, no, not really. Not just kidding. But yeah, so today is the day. Now is the deadline. One of the overreaching judges gave the Department of Justice until noon Eastern time today to put up or shut up. And I think the DOJ is going to tell him to pound sand yet again. I guess we'll see. So for those of you who are wondering, this will be, if everything holds out, a full episode. But I have to admit, I am a little tired. I worked until almost 1 a.m. again. I gotta figure out I gotta figure things out. I gotta figure things out. Anyway, we had a great night last night. By the time we were done, we had like 600 people watching us. We had a sustained viewership rate of over 380 people per hour. And for a stream that was on for nearly 7 hours, I will take those numbers. So thank each and every one of you very much. All of you that tune in on a regular basis, you are the unsung heroes of KLRN Radio. Now go buy some merch so your friends can find out about us too. I'm mostly kidding. Come on, bumper stickers are cheap, though. Just saying. All right. So I don't think there's been an update on it yet, but we'll keep our ears peeled and eyes posted to see if we can figure I know I said it all backwards. I don't really care. Sleep deprived. Just saying. So we will find out if there's any type of an update from this brewing showdown at high noon. And go from there. So a funny thing has happened, though, and this is something that I think may become part of my monologue for probably a good bit of the show. Because the funny thing is, and this is something that I've been trying to explain to everybody for a long time, we now know, if you bother to pay attention, that most everything that the leftists claim to believe about climate change is obviously a lie. We know this because they're lighting Teslas on fire. Everyone knows how dangerous those batteries are. Especially people in some of the states where they're lighting them on fire, like California, where they had to have the cars specially disposed of after the California wildfires because the batteries and the cars themselves wanted to keep burning and burning and burning and burning. But they're lighting them on fire anyway. And before anybody conflates this is nowhere near like what happened with Bud Light. Because that's all like, well, you guys were fine with boycotts when it was Bud Light and Target. I didn't see anybody lighting Target stores on fire. I didn't see anybody beating people down in the parking lot for buying piss water beer. And I said this yesterday. What happened with Bud Light was this. The the brand was as iconic as apple pie in America, and I'll be honest, for the longest time, I didn't even realize that it wasn't an America-owned company anymore. I mean, I figured it out along the way, but that brand was as iconic in America as American pie, or as apple pie. Good lord. Remember, sleep deprived Ricky. Just saying. But I also talked for like 7 hours yesterday, so if I'm coughing a little bit more and muting a little bit more, you know why. But the problem was it was one, the beer actually did suck. It did. But everybody kept buying it anyway because it was the brand. It was a step up from the stuff that we all snuck out and drank in high school. And it was the brand. Everybody was either drinking Budweiser or Bud Light until the Dylan Mulvaney situation. And that's when they lost the plot. But even for the videos where people were like throwing cases of Bud Light into the fire and everything else, dollars to donuts, those people paid for those cases before they torched them. The people that are lighting Teslas on fire, they don't own those Teslas. And I've seen all the stuff. Now the left is starting the same thing that we started with J6. Well, maybe the people that are lighting those on fire are feds. Or one of my favorite ones that I've seen so far is if suddenly your inventory wasn't moving, what would you do? Light the cars on fire and file an insurance claim. Duh. Come on, guys. Just stop. First of all, the only reason that we know there were feds involved in January 6th was because dude under oath couldn't tell us that there weren't. The only question he ever answered in the affirmative regarding affirmative or negative regarding whether there were people from the federal government or on the FBI payroll there was when he was specifically asked, were there any federal or FBI employees in this event? And basically he said no. But the very funny thing that happened after that, sorry, I was fixing something, was they asked him a follow-up question, and it was this: were there any FBI informants or government informants in the crowd? That's when he went into political speak and started talking about that he couldn't disclose that information. That's how we know. That's how we know. And the fact that we're talking about J6 versus the Tesla stuff is insane to me, because has anybody been arrested for the Tesla stuff yet? The FBI was using facial recognition, credit card scanners, and everything they could find technology-wise to hunt down the J6 perpetrators. Has anybody been arrested for firebombing a Tesla dealership yet? Anybody? Because I haven't heard of anyone. And if I've missed it, I would love to know. I would love to know. All right. So this is from an article that I found on Town Hall, but as usual, for some reason, the link inside Town Hall wasn't playing, so I had to go to X. That's why it took a second to get this squared away. But without further ado, this is a clip from The Daily Show. And it's not one of the Jon Stewart segments of The Daily Show, because I guess like Rachel Maddow, he only does like one day a week now. I guess she's on full-time duty until after the 100 days. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, here's a clip.
Jim, they're taking to the streets or the parking lots.
Tonight, the FBI and ATF now investigating multiple cases of possible arson targeting Teslas and Cybertrucks.
This dramatic video shows multiple cars in flames. Police say the attacker used Molotov cocktails. It's the latest in more than a dozen instances of arson and vandalism targeting Tesla.
The same suspect shot more Teslas with a gun. Tesla Cybertrucks were set on fire in Kansas City, and earlier this month, shots fired at a Tesla dealership in Oregon. Cybertrucks on fire in Seattle.
Wow, you guys like petty acts of domestic terrorism, huh? Cool. Jim, they're taking to the streets or the parking lots.
All right. So what the hell, America? What the hell? This is nuts. This is nuts. This is the country that we live in. The same people that are telling me and you that we have to eat bugs. Not sure why is that on there twice? Everything's being glitchy again. Hang on. Let me fix it. That was weird. Okay. I'll fix it on the break. But the same people that were telling me and you that to save the planet we need to eat bugs are now lighting cars on fire that will burn for a long ass time. All to make a political statement. And look, if you don't want to buy a Tesla, that's fine. If you want to convince your friends that own Tesla stock that they should probably sell it, you know what? That's between you and your friends. But when you start destroying vehicles that don't belong to you, when you start destroying dealerships that don't belong to you, this is when I have a problem. And I'm going to ask this again, where's the FBI? Where's the FBI? We're supposed to have this new kick-ass FBI with Cash Patel and Dan Bongino running it. Where the hell are they? What are they doing? Why is this not a priority? The only way this is ever going to stop is if people start facing consequences when they cross specific lines. And this is an instance of crossing specific lines. And we're back to what I talked about yesterday, America. It is gut check time. You have to decide how long you are going to be willing to endure some pain for the good of not only yourselves, but for the good of the country. We used to understand that, and we don't anymore. The left understood it. It was just warped. And now so are they, because that's how they view all of this. They are taking action because they don't like the fact that everything they feel like is being stripped away from them because that's what their side is saying. When the reality could be no further from the truth. If these people understood that by trying to stop Doge and stop Elon Musk, they are working to keep the government rich, then they would probably stop. The problem is I don't think they can connect those dots anymore. To borrow a phrase from my good friend BZ, who'll be live with us tonight, I don't think they can grok that concept. And yes, before Elon Musk made it a name for an AI, grok was a term that was used quite often. Just saying. But it's frustrating to me because everybody's being disingenuous on all sides, because all the leftists that are screaming and yelling that Donald Trump is thumbing his nose at the lower courts, we didn't start that. Y'all did. And we warned you. We warned you what would happen if, because you allowed a sitting president and were encouraging a sitting president to do an in run around the federal Supreme Court, no less, that eventually you weren't going to like what you were, the Pandora's box that you were opening. And we told you. The same people, yet again, that are wringing their hands over that are the same people that are terrorizing Tesla owners, that are slicing and slashing Tesla tires and vandalizing cars and lighting them on fire and spitting on them and all the other things that I've been showing you and everybody here at KLR Radio has been showing you for the last week. And I, for one, have had enough. So I have a question. Because before this turns into vigilante justice, because I'm telling you right now, they vandalized the wrong Tesla, like somewhere in Oklahoma or Texas, they ain't getting judged by 12. I can guarantee you that. And I'm telling you, that's what they want. So our agencies, our law enforcement agencies need to step up. It's that simple. You guys are supposed to be, it's just time. It's time. We need the 21st century version of the Untouchables. That's what we need. And I have been saying that for years. Because it's insane. Because that's what the left was doing with the FBI, the DOJ, and all these other alphabet soup agencies. They created the communist version of the Untouchables. They could go anywhere, do anything they wanted, and face no consequences. And if you tried to stop them or say that they shouldn't do that, well, you're just a racist asshole who thinks that everybody should be hung from trees. That doesn't look like you. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it again. We need the 21st century version of the Untouchables, but we need them on the right side this time. As in the correct side, not the right side of the aisle. Because everything's gone nuts. Oh, that's well, yeah. Well, actually, the funny thing is now because Target and a few other places are turning away from DEI, now they're being banned from the other side. So they just can't win for losing. But that's what happens when you lay down with dogs. Eventually, you wake up with fleas. Oh, and officially, happy first day of spring. However, doesn't feel much like spring around here. So, yay, first day of spring. It doesn't feel like spring. All right, so let's see what we can get into real quick. See if we have any updates on the news. Oh yeah, I was gonna talk about this last night and I couldn't find the article and then I found it. So this is from our friends at PJ Media. This is from Paula Bulliard. So remember when Biden halted those pesky uh, liquid natural gas export projects? What if I told you the entire decision based on that was a lie? Would you be surprised? I doubt it, but let's go over it anyway. So let's set the stage. It's January 2024. The Biden administration has halted approval for liquefied natural gas LNG export projects, saying they needed to conduct additional environmental and economic impact studies. However, it turns out that the administration already had that study, the one it said it needed, but it hid the information from the public and ignored its recommendations because this is my shocked face. I promise it didn't fit their narrative. Oh no. So the Daily Caller News Foundation reports that the Biden administration deliberately buried a final draft version of a study that would have undermined its January 24 decision to pause approvals for liquefied natural gas. Moreover, according to sources at the Department of Energy, the Biden DOE finalized the draft of the study in 2023 and subsequently buried it because the initial version's findings would have contradicted the administration's rationale for the LNG freeze. Do you guys not get it yet? And look, this is endemic through the Democratic Party right now, but it is not just the Democratic Party. There are establishment crackheads on both sides that want everything to stay exactly the way it is. We managed to get rid of a lot of them on the right during Trump's first term, but a lot of them are still there. And the simple fact of the matter is, some of you that are freaking out because cuts are coming to your area and cuts are coming to your districts, you know what? We don't have a choice. We don't have a choice. We are broke. We are beyond broke. We're at a $2 trillion deficit, which before Doge came on the scene was getting closer to 3. We owe trillions of dollars. Trillions. And that's just the stuff that we haven't actually paid for yet. I've been saying this for months. If the government was a household, they would have already had to sell off the bitch for parts, which is where we are right now. So now we have to decide, do we want a government that can still function, but we can actually afford to support it? Or do we want this Leviathan that we have right now? Because this Leviathan is fighting back, ladies and gentlemen. We are seeing actually good comeback, but I don't think so. I'm confused, Denny. I feel like I missed something because I just got caught up with the chat. He's like, but Dutton died. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Anyway. All right. So hang on. I got it. It'll take me a second to get it set up, but I got to try something. You know what? Let's go ahead and take the monologue break, and it'll be a short one. That should give me a chance to see if I can get this bit set up. It's got to be done. My name's Rick Robinson. This is my show. We'll just go ahead and take the break early and combine them. So I should be back here in probably about 3 or 4 minutes. Stay tuned.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh, wow,
It's been an actual nightmare.
to oh, wow.
This is such an upgrade.
With celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Rodriguez. Dazzle me, Jeff.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis, now streaming on Freevee.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, Pop-Up! Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to hire an attorney after you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-5200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome back into the program, ladies and gentlemen. I think I just about have this bit ready to go, but it's going to be a hot swap, so bear with me for just a second.
It's been a long time looking for you. Say all the good time lovers never true. Playing fools get Telling those sweet lies, losing again. I was looking for love in all the wrong places, looking for love.
Had to be done. Sorry, I'm not even sorry. And for just a minute, we're gonna share the screen a little bit better. So I had an idea this morning. I pulled this from a video that I was watching, and I was gonna do a caption this and let everybody else do it. And I was like, you know what? I can't. I can't. This one. Yeah. This reminds me so much of the buckwheat character from Eddie Murphy that it had to be done. So yeah, looking panub in all the wrong paces. But what is up with his hairdo? A lot of people have been having fun with it. There's other people that have added, like, I saw one that kind of looked like it had the whole pebbles thing going on, and then there's others that have put other things into these different buns. But this is a woman who's decided she wants to be free. So this is the other half of this bit, and this only happened in one room, so I'm going to try to do it officially now. 1 second. I don't know if I have the announcer voice to do this anymore, but we're going to try. It's been a minute since I've done that kind of work, so hang on just a second. Where'd you go? Why can I not find you? Oh, wait, there we go. All right. Okay. She was a wife, allegedly. A mother, potentially. And a first lady. But now she's decided she's free. Michelle Obama is releasing the shrew, coming to Netflix in 2026. Okay, so this is what happens when I'm sleep deprived. So this is probably why you guys should help me make sure I sleep more. Anyway, had to be done. I know. Probably wasn't as funny outside of my head as it was inside my head. I don't care. This is why I do a show. If you don't like my bits, start your own. I'll even help you. Just saying. All right. So hang on. Let's see what else we can get into here. So remember the not trans boxer that everybody was swearing up and down was actually a woman, until they figured out that bitch's ovaries are on the outside, which makes her a dude. So Imani Khalif, the controversial Algerian boxer suspected of being a transgender, suspected, you say, told reporters this week that he plans to compete in the Olympics in 2028. Last year, Khalif, at age 25, gained worldwide attention for beating up a female boxer, Angela Carini, from Italy. Carini quit after competing against Khalif for only 46 seconds. Immediately after reports began circulating that Khalif was born with male chromosomes and apparently male parts of anatomy. So yeah, this isn't over yet. They're still fighting. Yeah, but then you confused me because he wasn't playing Dutton in the movie that I was referencing, so I got kind of confused. But anyway, I was like, are you talking about somebody else, or are you talking about the Yellowstone character played by Kevin Costner? Because I was confused, but it's okay. You confuse me often. It's normal. It's normal. Oh, so you might not have heard this yet. If you were listening to last night's shows, you have. But, for anybody that doesn't like to stay up late, did you hear this one? So Greenpeace loses the Dakota Access Pipeline trial and facing bankruptcy as well as potential extinction. Couldn't happen to a nicer group of militants. So, again, we're setting the stage a little bit, backing things up. And in 2016 and 2017, the left vented its shock and fury at Donald Trump's unexpected victory by, among other things, protesting the construction of an oil pipeline in North Dakota. The funny thing about this oil pipeline in North Dakota is almost everybody involved in it wanted this thing to happen. It would help with energy. It would help bring jobs to the area. Except there was one cranky-ass little tribe that Greenpeace latched onto and elevated them into national stardom for a little bit, while also doing some shady things to make it seem like the folks that were trying to get the oil deal done were not respecting burial grounds, etc. When in reality, that crew was going out of their way to make sure that nothing was damaged or disturbed, that those folks didn't want damaged or disturbed. Because despite what the left tries to tell you, we are not the assholes in this scenario. And I've been trying to explain this for a long time. We just wanted to be left alone. We wanted our children to be taught the basics to make sure that they knew how to be productive citizens and valued adults. And we wanted to be left alone. You couldn't do that. You had to keep pushing the Overton window further and further and further and further. And the part that the media is not telling you, because we already played the clip, and this isn't the first time that I've seen people in late night studios, supposedly late night studios. Let's not forget these things are filmed during the day, which I've always found really weird because I'm like, why are you filming the late show in the middle of the day? What if something changes? It's always just seemed weird to me. But anyway, what they don't realize is they're red pilling a lot of Tesla owners. And I think a lot of people like me that have been red pilled are starting to move into the black pill category. And I know that upsets people because they're like, no, that means you don't trust anybody. And that's a good place to live right now. Because I've been saying this because I get texts from people all the time. All right, so do you think Elon Musk is actually a good guy, a bad guy? What's going on? I'm going to tell you guys the same thing I tell them every time I get asked this question. I don't trust any of them any further than I can throw them. But you explain this to me. If Elon Musk is the bad guy in this scenario, why are militant people lighting his cars on fire and trying to stop the cars from being sold? Why are militant people attacking those that have already purchased them? Why is the left mad at the guy trying to show you who's been robbing you instead of being mad at the people who have been robbing you? Because they know for the most part, their folks, the ones that they like, are involved. This is why so many things have started crumbling. You're seeing major news outlets and major news networks move away from their named nightly news anchors to hire lesser known people so that they can afford to continue to pay salaries to people without having to start sending a bunch of people home, which is still going to happen anyway. But this has been my warning all along to every single one of you that now consider yourselves part of the new media thanks to X. Sensationalism may sell, but it isn't what we want. And I'm saying this in earnest because I did it again yesterday. I made a throwaway comment. Apparently, Donald Trump said something about trying to maybe put a patio where the Jackie Kennedy Rose Garden is because it always gets so wet there when it rains. And everybody actually some on both sides of the aisle lost their shit. So me just being a smartass because they were like, oh my God, I can't believe he's talking about doing that. And I'm like, okay, so you mean unlike one of the previous tenants who got rid of the indoor pool and turned that into the press room? Or, one of the more recent tenants who removed the bowling alley and put in a basketball court? Well, nobody sees those things, and we're talking about a beautiful feature of the White House like Jackie Kennedy's Rose Garden, and he just wants to pave over it and put in a patio. And I was pretty pissed when Barack Obama decided to put a basketball court in there. When I found out there was a pool that is now home of the press pool, ironically, I was a little mad. I would love to have an indoor pool. I don't know if they built one elsewhere. I've never bothered to look. But look, all of these things that we're talking about today are all the things that each side gets their panties in a wad over from different perspectives. I, for one, am tired of playing that game. It is time to nut up or shut up. We're either in this to fix it, or everybody can just take their ball and go home, and we can just finish watching America fall off the cliff that we've been careening towards now for decades. This is just nuts to me. All right, so it looks like Kurt Schlichter and I might actually agree. So looks like, according to him, this came out earlier. Time for the Trump DOJ and FBI to deal the pain. We've all seen those uppity federal judges presuming to tell the executive branch when it can deport enemy aliens, when it can fire useless government flunkies, and when members of the administration must stand or sit to pee. Like much of the lawfare against Donald Trump, this craziness is going to come to nothing. It's all going to turn to ashes in their soft, girlish little hands. But here's the thing. We control federal law enforcement right now. That means we get to set the agenda. And we need to ruthlessly and brutally use the law to defeat our enemies' outrageous and disgraceful attacks upon patriotic Americans. Here are 3 great examples of what we can leverage the power we have from standing at the helm of federal law enforcement to get the kind of results we need to make the changes we want. Remember, we're not here for the short haul. We don't want to do things they will easily roll back. We want to establish precedents, and we want to establish an understanding on the part of our enemies that we're going to hit them back twice as hard. Remember, untouchables. They send one of ours to the morgue, we send 10 of theirs. Just saying. So we want to establish precedents, and we want to establish an understanding that on the part of our enemies that we're going to hit them back twice as hard as they wage lawfare on us. The one thing we're not going to do is something they tried to do. We're not going to frame people. That's morally wrong and un-American, and God has something to say about that in the 10 Commandments. So that's never something we can do, but we don't need to lie about them. We have only to address what they're actually doing, and they're doing a lot. And by a lot, I mean a lot of bad things. Let's start with the auto pin pardon thing. The Demented eggplant, or as I call him, the cauliflower in chief, who was masquerading as our president for the previous 4 years, allegedly pardoned hundreds and hundreds of weirdos, losers, mutations, degenerates, and Congress creatures to the extent that any different before his humiliating ejection from office. However, hang on. Sentence doesn't make sense to me, but maybe it's because I'm sleep deprived. All right, so however, people noticed that these pardons were not actually signed by hand. Rather, his handlers used an auto pin. That's a device that signs someone's name mechanically. Presumably, it is done at the guidance and the behest of the person whose name is being affixed to the documents. This is where the controversy comes in. Joe Biden seems manifestly unable to have understood what he was doing with regards to these pardons. So the question is whether these pardons are legitimate and enforceable. The president's pardon power is very broad, and nothing in the Constitution requires him to sign the document granting one personally. In fact, there's nothing that requires a pardon to be in writing at all. It's plenary power, and arguably he can pardon someone simply by waving his hand and uttering the words, "I pardon thee." This is kind of like under the Patriot Act and parts of the Patriot Act, because of the fact that the president at that point in time was basically working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and there were parts of the White House that were considered SCIF eligible and parts that were not. The residency was not. So they basically gave the president the power to shout into even if it was into an empty room, "This is now declassified," and then he could take it to the residence and keep working. This is where part of the left's argument regarding the whole, classified documents in Mar-a-Lago thing kind of fell apart. So, and this is from Schlichter himself, but I will probably mostly agree, and I'll let you know if I don't. So here's my take, and some people aren't going to like it. He can auto pin pardons all day long, and they're absolutely effective. Unfortunately, he's probably right. The discrete auto pin issue is a certain loser in the courts, and it should be. But the question really isn't how something got signed, but rather whether Joe Biden actually meant, to issue these pardons of all sorts of scumbag criminals, or whether he, in his advanced state of dementia, thought he was signing off on a proclamation proclaiming National Ice Cream Day. So once again, I'm skipping ahead because I don't really feel like going down the Biden rabbit hole anymore. So once again, we're not here to frame people. It must be a real crime, but if there is a real crime and the only bar to prosecuting it is the alleged pardon, why not try it? Let the pardon recipient litigate it. Perhaps there is probable cause to believe that Adam Schiff or Liz Cheney is guilty of a crime for which they could be prosecuted, but for the alleged pardon. If that evidence exists, the DOJ has evidence of Joe Biden's incompetence. Maybe it could just offer into evidence the video of the debate with Trump. Why not give it a try? Make it a test case. Sure, the legal argument has never been used before and might get thrown out by the Supreme Court. But hundreds and hundreds of J6 defendants had to defend themselves against a novel legal theory brought by the DOJ. Prosecutors, which was eventually rejected completely by the Supreme Court. So, Crimea River. We've been warning you guys for a long time about the new rules. We've been warning you guys for a long time about the new rules. We didn't set these rules. You guys did. That's why I laugh my ass off right now with everybody that's like, oh my God, Donald Trump's ignoring the courts. Really? You're the one who told Joe Biden that he should ignore every court because the Supreme Court said that the president is untouchable while he's in office. So he should just do whatever he wants. So you know what? It's time to test the assumption. Let's find out. And the reason I agree with Slichter in this instance about prosecuting folks like, Liz Cheney and Adam Schiff and all the other ones that got the auto pin pardons is because even with Nixon, there were legal questions about if challenged, would this pardon, because it was fairly broad, stand up in court. If there were legal questions about that one, imagine the myriad of legal questions about these. One, did Joe Biden understand what he was signing? Two, even though it was done with an auto pin, did he authorize them to sign these things? Was he aware of what was in them? Could he even make that decision? And I submit that they could actually make the case that everything he did once the DOJ said he is not competent enough to stand trial could probably be tossed out. There's precedent for that too. But why aren't we willing to fight that way? Look at what they're willing to do to try to stop Donald Trump. Now, I'm not saying we should start lighting leftist-leaning places on fire or beating the crap out of people that supported Kamala Harris. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is there's more than enough here to, one, start finding the people that are firebombing Teslas. And you know what? If it is a Fed, if it is somebody on the right trying to stir up trouble, good. I want to know the answer so that we can get them too. This is the same thing that I've always said about January 6th. I just want to know the truth because too many things about that situation make zero sense. All I want to know is the truth. So you and me and other informed voters that listen to shows like this can decide what to do going forward. That's all we're looking for with Doge and everything in between. We just want the truth because we can see how corrupt our government has become. We can see how hard judges that have obvious ties to groups like USAID and all these other places that have been leftist-leaning money laundering facilities, etc., for God knows how long, are suddenly, oh my God, we have to stop Donald Trump. I wonder why. I wonder why that is. I wonder why. Why are you suddenly so worried about stopping him? Oh, all right. So we're going to get into this Tim Walz thing a little bit more. So hang on a second. Sorry, I still have The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly playing in my head, so I keep whistling it. Or I guess I should more specifically say, I apologize for nothing. All right, here we go.
You're a criminal. I'm talking about Tim Walz and his comments about the Tesla stock. He says it gives him a boost to see that stock going down.
That poor guy didn't check his portfolio and his own pension plan for state. It's beyond stupid what he did. He's talking down a 3.5% weighting in his own pension plan. I mean, what's the matter with that guy? He doesn't check the well-being of his own constituents in his state. I mean, that's their investment fund. Point, what a bozo.
The Minnesota Tesla State Board of Investment, they have 1.6 million shares in Tesla in their retirement fund, 211,000 shares in a non-retirement fund. It's a relatively small amount, but that's one company, one single stock, and that's because Tesla is a huge part of the tech growth. But this is not the first time that companies have been in the crosshairs of protests. I mean, Republicans have protested companies all the time.
We've protested companies all the time. But the difference is we just don't buy your shit if you piss us off. We don't light your stuff on fire. We don't start beating people down in Target parking lots. We don't start going into Target and filling our shopping carts. The left does, though. Everybody seems to forget that everything that we're talking about right now, the left has done or has had a hand in. And for anybody but Rick, what about January 6th? I've shown you the video footage of the police escalating that situation on this very program. I have played the audio footage of the radio traffic between the dispatchers and the police officers when it was still available, telling everybody when things started going sideways, and it was because the police acted first. Up until that moment, most of the people that were there were basically invited into the Capitol by people that we now know were FBI informants that were inside the Capitol, some of them in restricted areas they never should have been able to get into access to anyway, and some outside. So, yes, let's continue to discuss January 6th in the same breath as we're talking about people that are terrorizing Tesla owners. Because the two things are not connected. They're not even connectable. You're talking about two completely different scenarios. And I know there's a lot going on, and I know everybody's afraid and everybody's scared because we don't like change. But that's how the Democrats have been able to pull the wool over your eyes for so long, because pardon me, every time they get a chance to, they do everything they can to plug all the important little parts of our economy back into their constantly growing and constantly needing to be fed federal sector instead of the private sector, which creates stability, which gives the illusion, and that's what it is. This is an illusion. And I get it. Donald Trump doesn't articulate things well, and it is one of the things that drives me nuts. But one of the things that he's been trying to tell everybody is, I could have done this the easy way and let us coast for another 2 years or so, and everybody would have just been like, oh, look. And I could have done, the minimal things, like increased drilling, cut a few regulations to bring prices down, or I can fix what's actually broken, which is the hard way. Nobody understood how broken anything was in this country until COVID. Some people still refuse to see it. And again, I go back to one of the things I opened with at the beginning of the hour. The truth of this is, if everybody who's protesting Doge and protesting Musk and buying into all the stuff that a billionaire who doesn't need any of your and my money is doing everything he can to steal money from Ma and Pa Kettle and put it into his own pocket. Are you kidding me? The dude doesn't even need our money. He never has. This isn't about lining his pockets. If it was, they would leave things the way that they were, and they would be plugging all their money into all the little money laundering schemes the left had. I mean, I need you to look at something, and I'm probably going to save it for the break because I don't want. I've kept you guys on the screen too long while I'm looking for stuff because I'm tired. But have you seen the difference between AOC's bottom line, and I said it that way on purpose, versus when she was a bartender versus now? She hasn't been in office that long, folks. You have any idea how much she's actually worth right now? I will find you the answer while we're on break here in just a few minutes. So, remember when I said climate change was a lie? This is from my friend Stu over at the Blaze Media. In case you didn't know, apparently 8 miles of Amazon rainforest, and yes, I said miles, were destroyed so elites could attend the 2025 climate summit. Every year, a group of global elites gather at the COP30 United Nations Climate Change Conference to discuss the impending doom our world faces if drastic measures aren't taken to address the climate crisis. And every year, the normies scream hypocrisy because these elites fly to their exclusive summit in their private jets while condemning commercial airlines as a climate sin. Carbon footprints don't apply if you're rich and powerful, apparently. Okay, so I've just had one of those apostrophe moments. Some of you aren't going to get that reference unless you've seen the movie Hook. Lightning has struck me brain. I think you mean epiphany. Yeah, maybe that too. Anyway, but this has just occurred to me. Everybody remember why the Church of England became the Church of England? It was because the king watched everybody buying salvation from the Catholic Church and their overflowing coffers, etc. What if I told you that the Church of Climatology is now the Catholic Church of the left? Because they can assuage their guilt with money. Well, we are your betters, and therefore, because we can throw money at the problem and you really can't, it doesn't matter that we keep our huge private yachts and our gas guzzling private jets and have our 4 houses in 4 different parts of the world, most of which are located in coastal areas, which, if climate change was real, would already not exist. But I digress. Sorry, I forgot where I was. There we go. So this year, their hypocrisy is extra special. You might even say it's an Oreo double stuffed of hypocrisy. Because it's been discovered that 8 miles of rainforest in Brazil is being cleared to build a 4-lane highway called Avenida Liberdade, Liberty Avenue, in time for the summit, which will take place in November 2025 in Belém, Brazil, a city smack in the middle of the country's Amazon region. Tens of thousands of acres of trees have already been cut down following the ironically green lighting of the project, which has been stalled for over a decade by environmentalists. That is until more important, quote unquote, environmentalists needed a road. Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. It's almost humorous when you think about it. Stu Bergieri, the Blaze TV host of Stu Does America, giggity, certainly thinks so, which is why he brought comedian and Blaze TV host of Normal World Dave Landau onto the show to discuss the incredibly ironic situation. I have no idea how long this clip is, but we're going to find out real quick. Hang on. You know what? It's not that long. But I don't really want to start it yet because we've only got 3 minutes. We will probably, you know what? We'll let it run. Then we'll go to break. Then we'll come back with it. Hang on. Except it helps if I make sure that. Well, first things first. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Hang on, because I want to get to the actual YouTube version of the clip, so I'm not having to pause for ads every 5 seconds. All right, so we'll cover this in the opening of the next hour because we'll come back to this. Let me see what other quick hit I can get into in the last couple minutes, though. I can't believe we're already an hour in. I feel like I just started like 5 seconds ago. Okay, hang on. Is there a clip? Oh, there's a clip. Sorry, Denny. Not not really, because I apologize for nothing. But yeah, we're gonna discuss this, and then we'll go to the break.
I don't know. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that Chuck's days may be numbered, just like Jimmy Kimmel.
Sean, I don't hate anybody. That includes Senator Schumer. He's very smart. On the other hand, Chuck's often wrong. He never makes the same mistake twice. He makes it 5 or 6 times just to be sure. But this time he got it right in supporting our efforts to keep government open. Unless a football coach taught you history, you understand that shutting government down never achieves anything. It just, especially the elderly. Having said that, many Democrats are angry. Among them right now, we've all seen the news. He's about as popular as chlamydia. But that to me says as much about the Democratic Party as it does about Senator Schumer. What it tells me is that the loon wing of the Democratic Party is firmly in control. Now that's great for the Republican Party, but it's bad for America. These people are deeply weird.
All right, that's where we're going to leave this.
example,
But I just wanted you to hear that
who's,
as the article was going to put
IQ
it.
is above his age, doesn't believe that
Senator Kennedy describes Schumer's current popularity in ways that only he can.
That's what I mean when I
My name is Rick Robinson. This is my show. Hour 1 is in the books. Hour 2 on the other side. And we're going to go back to the hypocrisy of the Green New Steel. And yes, I'm sticking with that even though the president didn't. We'll be right back. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name is Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risk their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has, when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding. because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and it's growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the #1 way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
For the wicked that he does. Take all the rope in Texas, find a tall oak tree, round up all of them bad boys, hang them high in the street. For all the people to see. That justice is the one thing you should always find. You gotta saddle up your boys, you gotta draw a hard line. When the gun smoke settles, we'll sing a victory tune, and we'll all meet back at the local saloon. We'll raise up our glasses against evil forces, singing whiskey for my men, beer for my horses.
And welcome into hour 2 of the Friday Eve edition of the Rick Robinson Show. Don't forget, I'll be back tonight live, as far as I know, with Jen and Rick. That should be at 10 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget, before then, though, hang out with the boys of The Culture Shift. Brad with the good hair and our resident Amish take you down every bit of pop culture rabbit hole you have come to expect on that particular show. And Amish and I will be doing a special makeup edition of Juxtaposition this weekend as well, to get us back on track with the Mandela Effect. There's so much new material and so many things that we're going to kind of retouch on because we have an entirely new audience over here on X. Speaking of which, where all are you guys today? You're some of you are here. We usually have about 150 in here by the beginning of the second hour, though, so we're a little light. Where's all my friends? Come on, drinks are on me.
Whiskey for my men, beer for my horses.
Certain restrictions do apply, and your drinks must be free. My name is Rick Robinson. Welcome back in. All right, as promised, we're going to continue to dismantle the green news scam in every way possible, every time, and in any way we can. And we're going to start with this right here. This is actually from The Blaze, and it's a segment from Stu Does America, Giggity. I guess he's got guest Dave Landau on. I don't know. Every time I see the name Landau, I think of Landru from Star Trek. I know, that's a TOS reference. Some of you are like, we don't even know what that means. Go ask your mom to change your diaper. Okay, I think I've gone past the sleep deprived stage into the completely just ready to be ornery stage, because, yeah, I think the caffeine's finally starting to work. All right, here we go.
I'm joined now by Dave Landau, comedian and host of Normal World right here on Blaze TV. He's also, I didn't know this till today, author of the upcoming book, Party of One, which is coming your way April 3rd, just a couple weeks away. Pre-order your copy. This is big news, Dave. Congratulations, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I want to get into the book here in a little bit. Let me hit some news first, and then we'll have the meal first, and then we can talk about the dessert here in just a moment. Just if you could quickly for me. Just solve the Ukraine-Russia thing, because Putin is now rejecting the ceasefire agreement.
Correct.
And, it seems like now Ukraine, after getting in an argument in front of the media with Donald Trump, is now all of a sudden on board with whatever needs to be done.
Yes.
It's kind of funny.
It's strange. It's like they don't have their funding or the backing.
It feels that way.
They're not as confident about it.
Yeah, all of a sudden.
It's not like they had a grandpa-type figure that would just send them whatever they wanted all the time for 4 years.
Because it is that thing, like if you just need a grandpa who's very, very wealthy.
Yeah.
Maybe has a money printing machine.
Right.
And can just give you, will give you, what was it? The quote was, whatever it takes for as long as it takes.
Exactly.
You're going to be totally responsible with that money.
Yes, exactly. You need a good rich grandpa who's got a bit of dementia and doesn't understand your addiction problems.
Right.
You call him all the time to get bailed out, and he's like, yeah, of course. I love you.
You sound like a person who understands addiction.
I actually do.
Yeah.
I've swindled many elders out of cash.
Oh, really?
I do reverse mortgages.
Oh, okay.
That's
perfect.
Yeah, they're not legit, but I mean...
No.
I mean, the legit ones aren't legit.
Yeah, well, we of course love all of our sponsors that are reverse mortgage companies. No, we don't have any of that, but it would be bad if we did.
Tom Selleck's
I hear if you bash, reverse mortgages, Tom Selleck just comes in the door, like the Kool-Aid guy, and bashes over, and he gets very upset.
His mustache comes by itself and just takes you out.
Do you think there's any hope for this? Because I kind of it feels like we're going in the right direction now with Trump, where he's putting pressure on both sides. It's not being covered that he's also pressuring Russia, but he is also kind of threatening Russia with all sorts of things.
Yeah.
It feels like we're at least moving closer to some sort of conclusion here.
It does, but I just have I mean, it's not that I don't have faith in him. I just don't have faith in any system right now or what somebody else is going to do. This has been going on for so long. I think the only reason it might end is the fear that Zelensky now has, that he's not going to be covered, like we said. I don't know. But we'll see if it ends. I don't know. I hope so. But I guess when Trump was in office the first time, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, it seemed like they were at least at odds. They weren't buddies, but they kind of had that sort of stability. And I don't know, the last couple of years, it feels like the war in itself has just been like stable lines on a map, including hundreds of thousands of people dying on each side. That seems like a really suboptimal experience.
It does. Well, I think part of it is you have to out crazy somebody, or at least make them think you're insane and capable of extreme danger.
That's how you win wars?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
You have.
I know that. Okay.
I mean, at least you want to show it that way. You know?
Yeah.
So Trump kind of displays that. I mean, he does. That he's
does.
a bit insane and he's willing to do anything to win. And then you have JD, who's kind of a bit of a handler, who's like, listen, I'll explain this more coherently, while he just calls you names.
Yes.
So I think that's why it's working right now.
That was the North Korea approach.
100%. They just equally crazy. He started calling him Rocket Man, and and it worked.
Yeah.
Nobody had ever done that besides Dennis Rodman,
right,
who's also insane.
Right, but also did a decent job with the North Korea situation.
He sure did. Well, he went over there and decided to handle it. No one's done that.
No one's done that. That's true. I think that's positive.
I do too.
I mean, I do wonder, because it's like, if you think of it almost like a bully, right? A bully, Scott Farkas is going to beat the crap out of the kids from The Christmas Story over and over and over and over again.
Zelensky's losing his milk money no matter what.
He's losing it either way. Yeah. But I do feel like if you do this enough times, eventually you have the risk of Ralphie getting some, piece of internal energy and just beating the crap out of you.
Yes.
And there was a time I think America was strong enough to always win these things. I think Trump has the internal fortitude to do it, but we're not in as strong a position against the China as we used to be. I mean, are we at risk here?
I think we are a bit with China. We've always been, just because we're outnumbered by people who, a lot of them, like, don't want to live. It's got to, you know,
it's a kind of a central part of life.
Yeah, think about like all the human shields China will use just before you get to their army. They have very little care. I don't mean the American ones. I don't want to offend any of the. I'm just talking about the actual ones in China who would come after us.
Now you're making all of our Chinese Communist Party sponsorships upset. We have many of those.
So we're going to lose
all
flag?
those. You're shedding the show.
Okay, so weirdly enough, I guess this wasn't tied to the article. It was just, I guess, an ad for the show. But yeah, so we're gonna kill that. Sorry, I was checking on something else while I was letting that play too. So it just started penetrating through the stuff that I was reading. That, hey, this wasn't the topic you set this up as, dumbass. Then I mentioned sleep deprivation. You know how I fixed that? 2 ways. Supermassiveblackholecoffee.com. I have 2 promo codes, so if you decide to check it out, just do exactly what I'm telling you. Hopefully, you have 2 different email addresses. If you don't, Gmails are free, and 2 different credit cards. So try one. They have like a 1 pound bag. Get that. Try it. It's awesome. I recommend whole bean, which happened to me by accident, by the way. One of the guys that set me up with the stuff was like, we're so confident that you're going to go ahead and start promoting us that we've already set up your stuff and we're going to send you a bag. So I didn't specify whether it should be already ground for me or the whole bean. So I have entered my coffee snob phase thanks to these gentlemen. I have a coffee grinder now. I don't recommend going back to not grinding your own coffee. My next step will be a French press because I don't have one of those yet. Because apparently that's the way to go for the coffee snobs is fresh ground and French press. So I think we're going to figure that out over the summer. But supermassiveblackholecoffee.com. You can either enter promo code Rick or promo code KLRN Radio and get your sample. Then if you decide you like it, don't tell them I told you this part. Go back to supermassiveblackholecoffee.com, create a new account using a different email, and hopefully you have a different credit card. Then you can put in the promo code that you didn't use and sign up for recurring. Not only do you get the discount back from the separate promo code, you also save more if you set up to have it shipped to your house on a regular basis. And it is the best coffee I've ever tasted, and that's saying something. Before that, I'll be honest, it was Death Wish. Death Wish is amazing. I've even tried, now that I have a grinder, Death Wish fresh ground, and I still prefer supermassiveblackholecoffee.com. The other way I do it is energy drinks. I know, coffee and energy drinks, never a good mix, so I don't recommend this. So pick one or the other, depending on your preference. I know some people don't like coffee. That's why energy drinks became a thing. W Energy, W.GG. Go check them out. And you can put in the code Rowdy Rick at checkout and save some additional coinage because we're always looking for ways to, 1, help my audience stay awake because God knows if you listen to me, you need it. And 2, ways to save you, money. Same time. Same. All right. So let's see what other trouble we can get into. But yeah, back to this, just to make sure if you're just joining us, we closed the hour and we're coming back to talk about the fact that apparently like 8 miles of rainforest has been chopped down in the Amazon to make room for a 4-lane superhighway for the climatards that need to get to a meeting about how bad the climate is and how we need to save all the trees. Because you really can't make this shit up. All right. So remember how I kept telling you guys that now that there's data here, you really just need to look and you can figure out, there really was something rotten in the 2020 American election. So this is from Guy Benson, Town Hall. These 2024 election stats absolutely stunned the liberal data analysts. While the Democratic Party seems to be lost on a deranged wilderness journey at the moment, some of their leading data gurus are trying to piece together a reliable picture of why Donald Trump won and Kamala Harris lost. To their shock and alarm, it turns out that some of the ironclad truths, remember, those aren't things anymore, that's part of the problem, that they thought they knew about American politics no longer apply. David Shore, one of these smart lefties, that's an oxymoron, who was quasi-canceled in 2020 for suggesting lawless rioting was unhelpful to the Democrats, did a deep dive into it. Well, maybe not so oxymoronic. did a deep dive into a vast trove of data in a podcast conversation with fellow progressive wonk Ezra Klein. He identified several trends and pieces of statistical evidence that explain the 2024 election's outcomes. Some of this is retreading ground we've covered, but the complete picture is even more stark. A few points stand out. Point 1, Democrats lost support among people of color. Part of a clear move away from the left by working class people. In 2016, Democrats received 81% of the Hispanic moderate vote, while in 2024, they received a whopping 58%. That's only 6% more than the 52% of white moderates that they received in 2024. The main story here is just a continuation of the trends that we saw 4 years ago. Throughout the entire Trump campaign, we've observed this racial depolarization, he said. Some additional points on this are here as well. The most important political trend of the last 30 to 40 years, both here and in every other country in the world, at least in Western countries, with elections, has been this story of education polarization. Basically, we've seen what are called highly educated people move to the left, while working class people have moved to the right. I wonder why that is. Could it be because, as we've discussed on this very program, our education system became an indoctrination farm thanks to folks like the Rockefellers? Could that be? Gee, I wonder if there's a correlation there. The Democratic Party used to be a coalition between liberals, moderates, and conservatives, and as liberals became the dominant coalition partner, it makes sense that the conservatives and moderates in the coalition, who were disproportionately non-white, given that this ideological polarization happened among whites 20 or 30 years ago, would start to shift. Point 2 of the data suggests the following. Less engaged and non-voters skewed more pro-Trump. Indeed, if all eligible voters had shown up and participated, Trump would have won the election by a greater margin. That's why they're terrified, because they're realizing that more and more of you are waking up and more of you are starting to vote, and they're hoping that by scaring you, they can keep you at home so that you allow the status quo to return, and all of their little piggy troughs and all of their slush funds and all these things that they've used to make your life a living hell can be restored. So let's look at this in more detail. In 2020, according to the New York Times data, people who didn't vote would have been a little bit more democratic than the country overall had they voted. But over the next 4 years, people who didn't vote shifted from being a somewhat Democratic-leaning group to a group that Trump won by double digits. The story of this election is that people who follow the news closely, get their information from traditional media, and see politics as an important part of their identity became more Democratic in absolute terms. Meanwhile, those who don't follow politics closely became much more Republican. It's not just that the New York Times readers are more liberal than the overall population. That's definitely true. It's that they're more liberal than they were 4 years ago, even though the country went the other way. And therein, ladies and gentlemen, lies the rub. And so there's this great political divergence between people who consumed all the news, all the sources that we know about and read about, versus the people who don't. As a result of these changes, we're seeing the reversal of a decades-long truism in American politics. And I quote, for a long time, Democrats have said, and it's been true, that if everyone votes, we win, and that higher turnout is good for Democrats. But this is the first cycle where that definitively became the opposite. If only people who had voted in 2022 had voted, Harris would have won the popular vote and also the Electoral College fairly easily. But if everyone had voted, Trump would have won the popular vote by nearly 5 points, according to the data that Shore has been able to put together. This is a massive sea change. And am I the only one that always thought that was seed change? I think I've mentioned that before, but I don't know. It just seems weird to me. Because a sea change doesn't anyway. One makes sense in my brain, the other one does not, and I think that's why my brain added the D. So anyway. Okay, I know. I did it to myself. I know. I did it. I have to.
Giggity giggity. Giggity goo. Stick around.
I have rules, damn it. They have to be followed. Anyway, so this is a massive sea change in our political conventional wisdom. If it holds, it could continue to benefit Democrats in lower turnout elections while hurting them in the big game elections. Klein asked Shore about the theory among some Democrats that their voters stayed home So the party didn't really lose to Trump so much as they lost to the couch, so to speak. You mean the one that J.D. Vance was intimate with? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Shore swatted that down. It's just not empirically correct. I would say if you just look at the demographics of the people who voted for Biden last time and stayed home this time, they're generally less educated, fairly politically disengaged, and much less likely to watch MSNBC and more likely to watch Fox. Frankly, they resemble the voters who trended away from us. Klein followed up asking if you had forced them out to vote, they may have just voted for Donald Trump. To which Shore responded, exactly. Trump won immigrants. Now, that's an important one, and we're going to break this one down in a second. Given how Democrats have spoken about immigration for years and demonized Trump on that front, there's not much to be added to this, but there is, in fact, because he won with immigrants, because he won with the folks that came here legally and are following the right processes, because they're tired of seeing people jump forward in the line and get special treatment when they did it the hard way. That's why this is so important. Because the people that came here legally and are actually immigrants, not illegal aliens, voted for Trump in ways that we hadn't seen before because they're tired of the Democratic bullshit too. The open borders concept of the Libertarian Party has fully engulfed the Democratic Party as well, because I know plenty of big L libertarians that think maps are not a map or borders are nothing but lines drawn on a map and shouldn't matter. That's one of the reasons why I was kind of chuckling a little bit when I heard Donald Trump a couple weeks ago say we should just erase the line between Canada and America. I'm like, you realize that's a leftist talking point, right? Look, I don't think Canada should become our 51st state. I'm all for trolling them. I'm even okay with us equalizing trade. But as far as them actually becoming a full-fledged 51st state, there are other people, again, if we want to look at this from the perspective of immigrants, there are other territories that have been waiting in line longer. Can Canada become a territory? Possibly. Should it probably become 3 or 4 territories? Most definitely. Much like at this point, California, because it is going so broke, the idea of splintering California into 4 different pieces has become popular again. Because the leftists are out of control over there and the populace doesn't really know how to stop them. And if they could split it up, then there would be people that would feel like they were being represented again. You have to understand, most of California is red. It's just the truth of it. Except for the population centers, much like every other state. So there are plenty of people that are away from those population centers that feel like they are putting up with taxation without representation within the state of California. I fear if the entirety of Canada is allowed 51st statehood, which again, make it a territory, because then all the tariffs go anyway. I fear this, though. A lot more of the country would be feeling the effects of taxation without representation, because even though Canada is a huge landmass, there's not a lot of people there, and most of them are liberal. All right, so back to this. There's a very clear correlation between how many immigrants there were in a county and how much Trump's vote share increased in counties like Queens, New York. Yes, you heard me right. Or Miami-Dade, Florida. Trump increased his vote share by 10 percentage points, which is just crazy. When we look at the precinct election results, we see that in immigration communities of all races, particularly Hispanic and Asian communities, but Trump even increased his vote share in Haitian precincts in Florida. Now, I need you guys to understand why this is so important, because remember, the left thought Donald Trump blew it in the debate with Kamala Harris when he started talking about animals and pets disappearing in, I think it was Ohio, I think. The problem is, if you did a lick of research, you would understand that even most Haitian Christians practice a blending of their original voodoo heritage and Christianity, which does mean, in fact, that a lot of animals are sacrificed, because it's much closer in actuality to more like the Old Testament version of Christianity than the New, because it does incorporate a lot of animal sacrifice for different reasons. So the fact that he won in other Haitian communities in such large numbers proves to you that a lot more people have been on our side than not. The problem is because of all the censorship, because of all the limitations, because of all the fear of speaking out, we never knew how much of us were actually on the same page. And this is why I keep coming back to this and coming back to this day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, because the only way to influence behavior is to make changes. And the only way to make those changes is to be consistent. So this is why I drill some of these same points through every single show, is to point this out to you. You have never been alone. I know a lot of you have felt that way. I know for a time I did too. I watched my first business that I ever tried to build, well, besides a lemonade stand when I was a kid, crumble in 2009 before Barack Obama was ever even sworn in. And then I took jobs that I thought I was going to hate that it turned out I was pretty good at. And then eventually I started doing this because I still, about a year or so later, still really felt like people weren't listening. The bigger names, the folks that have made it in this business weren't listening to the people like me and you. I mean, I turn on Hannity almost every day now anymore because I'm always in the car. So when I'm doing bus driver duty for Gracie, so I'll flip between the two stations here, the two major competitors, which are 1000 KTOK and 1520 KOKC, the one that I used to fill in for from time to time, depending on who's talking about what. I don't remember the last time I heard Sean Hannity take a call. I'm going to tell you right now, if I had somebody to run the boards and do all and help me with the prep work and screen the callers, we would take callers every day. Even if nobody ever called, I would attempt to take callers every day. But I don't remember the last time I heard Sean Hannity take a call. That died when Rush died. I mean, I think I still hear Beck do it from time to time, but it's nothing like what it used to be. Because everybody's got their own agenda and they've got their messages that they want to get out based on the research that they've put out. And it's all about being the guy that gets out there first. You know what? I want to hear from the people that listen to us. This is why I tell you all the time. You can at me at RowdyRick73. You can at the station at KLRN Radio. You can email me at rick@klrnradio.com. I promise I will answer. You can even I'll even give you the one that I give out when I'm filling on other radio stations. You can email me at radiofreerick@gmail.com. I will answer you. Because that's half the reason why this network was created. I felt like nobody was being given the opportunity to have a voice anymore. Because the people that had made it started building their own little bubbles. Look, I can't promise that if this thing ever gets huge, that you may not see me start trying to do the same thing. I promise you I'll do everything I can to fight it. And I promise you, if you see me start doing it, then please let me know. Because that's never been my intention. I don't care how big this stuff gets. I mean, I'll be honest. Looking at the X feed sometimes when I see Charlie Kirk and everybody coming on and suddenly Charlie Kirk has like 60,000 people on his own feed. I would love to have that kind of influence. I don't know if I ever will. But I would love to have that kind of influence. But right now, I love the increase of influence and reach that we have just in the nearly a year that we've started broadcasting to X. Because it has made that much of a difference. This is why I'm so torn with Elon Musk, because on one hand, I feel like he really is trying to bring free speech back to the country. And I think because he is, a lot of other folks are trying to toy with the idea too. But what I don't like, and this is happening with all of them, is all of the things that they told us they were going to get rid of are still there. I broadcast on Facebook every single day. Almost nobody sees it. And I was worried about that at first until I realized that Twitchy, a group that I work with, typically puts out some sort of streaming video at least once or twice a week. So I happened to come across one of their video feeds yesterday, and an account on Facebook that has over 1 million people following it and tons of interaction. There were maybe, I'm going to aim high because I don't remember the exact number, but there were maybe like 600 people paying attention when I pulled it up. Because like it or not, things are still being throttled. But you have to decide, ladies and gentlemen, because I go through this with even some of my own hosts that are like, it doesn't really do me any good to do the show anymore because nobody sees it. Nobody can see when I post. Hell, G was reaching out to me yesterday, even though I was very active on X, asking me if we were good to go to do a show because he hadn't seen anything from me all day. So, yes, I know I'm still being buried. You know what? I don't care. The harder you try to shut me up, the louder I'm going to scream. That should be all of us, because that's what the left does. Now, I'm not saying, much like Kurt Schlichter said earlier in the article that we read, I'm not saying we should set people up. I'm not saying we should entrap people, because the left loves to do that. I'm not saying that you should light things on fire. I'm not even saying that you should light things on fire that you purchased, because that just makes you look stupid. Just being honest. But what I am saying is it's gut check time. Because this is going to take longer than 2 years to fix. This is going to take longer than 4 years to fix. I don't honestly know how long it's going to take to fix, because it's taken them over 100 years to break it. But Donald Trump's been right. We're trying to fix what's broken. Some of us are helping to try to push the agenda so that we can fix what's broken. But it's up to you, folks. How much runway are you going to give him? Again, it's gut check time, America. We are at the bottom of hour 2, so we're going to take a break. My name's Rick Robinson. We do this thing every Tuesday through Friday between the hours of noon to 3, and we will be right back, so don't go too far.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
This is Derek's O'Reilly Auto Parts story.
After the third time jump-starting my car, I finally realized my battery was dying. So I stopped by O'Reilly to have it checked. They tested it right there in the parking lot. It was bad, real bad. But they helped me find the right battery for my car and even installed it for free. Now my car starts like new.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Celebrity designer Jeff Lewis is back with Hollywood House Lift.
I'm excited to be working with new clients.
I'm not getting rid of that.
I hope I never see you both again.
An all-new season.
Those have to go. That has to go.
From oh, wow,
It's been an actual nightmare.
to oh, wow.
This is such an upgrade.
With celebrities like Josh Duhamel, Christina Ricci, and Gina Rodriguez. Dazzle me, Jeff.
It looks like Chuck E. Cheese.
Stream an all-new season of Hollywood House Lift with Jeff Lewis, now streaming on Freevee.
Hi, I'm Mike, founder of DollarShaveClub.com. What is DollarShaveClub.com? Well, for $1 a month, we send high-quality razors right to your door. Yeah, $1. Are the blades any good? No. Our blades are f***ing great. Each razor has stainless steel blades, an aloe vera lubricating strip, and a pivot head. It's so gentle a toddler could use it. And do you like spending $20 a month on brand name razors? 19 go to Roger Federer. I'm good at tennis. And do you think your razor needs a vibrating handle, a flashlight, a back scratcher, and 10 blades? Your handsome-ass grandfather had 1 blade and polio. Looking good, pop up. Stop paying for shave tech you don't need. And stop forgetting to buy your blades every month. Alejandro and I are going to ship them right to you. We're not just selling razors, we're also making new jobs. Alejandro, what were you doing last month?
Not working.
What are you doing now?
Working.
I'm no Vanderbilt, but this train makes hay. So stop forgetting to buy your blades every month and start deciding where you're going to stack all those dollar bills I'm saving you. We are DollarShaveClub.com, and the party is on.
I know karate, I know jiu-jitsu, I drive like a gangster when I'm coming to see you, see you, see you, see you.
I'm Jordan Klinger, an attorney at McIntyre Law. The decision to you've been injured is important. The decision on who to hire is even more important. At McIntyre Law, we will settle a case if the offer to our client is fair. Partial justice is no justice at all. At McIntyre Law, we are committed to obtaining full justice for our clients. Contact McIntyre Law at 405-917-200 or visit us at mcintyrelaw.com.
Hi, everyone. This is JJ, the co-founder of Good Pods. If you haven't heard of it yet, Good Pods is like Goodreads or Instagram, but for podcasts. It's new, it's social, it's different, and growing really fast. There are more than 2 million podcasts, and we know that it is impossible to figure out what to listen to. On Good Pods, you follow your friends and podcasters to see what they like. That is the number one way to discover new shows and episodes. You can find Good Pods on the web or download the app. Happy listening.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Just a good old boy, never meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they was born. Straightening the curves, flattening the hills. Someday the mountain might get them, but the law never will. Ha ha! Making their way the only way they know how. That's just a little bit more than the law will allow.
And welcome back in. We are halfway through hour 2, which leaves hour 3 still to come. I hope everybody's enjoying your Thursday. For my Rick James crew, make sure you guys are pushing out the feed. For those of you that may be new around here, a couple things we only ask of you, and they're entirely free. Make sure you are liking the feed, sharing the feed, telling your friends about the feed. And when we're on breaks, if you would be so kind, if you could find your way to our Rumble and our YouTube channels and click the subscribe buttons over there, that would be amazing. We're monetized on Rumble, so I'm trying to grow over there, and we're trying to get monetized on YouTube. Just in case all of this pesky censorship ever actually eventually goes away. My name's Rick Robinson. This is my show. Again, we do this thing every Tuesday through Friday. For now, between the hours of noon to 3, I'm considering moving to 9 to noon when we go to the summer months because I just don't feel like I am optimizing my time well enough. But then again, I will have to train myself to try to go to sleep earlier again. I'm just not using my time well enough, and I haven't quite figured out the best way to fix that. So I'm working on that. All right, so a couple things to get to. First, this was actually shared from Raptor earlier. It looks like, and this may explain why X has been acting a little more cranky than usual, because everybody knows that Miss Linda came from WDF or WEF. It's one of the reasons why I call her Wiffle Ball Bat Linda. But apparently Doge has blocked lots of money that were supposed to go to the WEF, and that may explain why everybody's so mad. Also looking to see, because unfortunately it doesn't let me open the links from inside, and I thought I had a version of this open, but I don't guess I do anymore. So hang on just a moment. Okay, well now this instance of X is being retarded. One moment, please. All right, so sorry, somebody shared something with me in the chat room, and while I love X, the chat room can leave some things to be desired. It's kind of a pain to work. All right, so this is from Just the News. I'm trying to see what it is first, because of course it's got tons of ads, so I don't even know. It's just showing me a bunch of ads. The requested page could not be found. What have you done to me? Raptor, if you're trying to get me a virus, I'm going to be mad. Anyway, I have no idea what that was, but I did try to look just so everybody knows. But yeah, so let's see what other trouble we can get into, though, in the last few minutes of this segment of the show. Oh, yeah, that's right. Hang on. I know what I was going to talk about if that didn't work, and then I got distracted. So, one moment. You know, we can't do a show without talking about her hotness. Just saying. So I haven't seen any record of any press conferences today, but I did find this from a little junket she did with him earlier today. So hang on. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, I know, and that's all it said, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say. One, two, three. Morning.
Can I get all 4 of them under my tree? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Did I say that?
Caroline, what do you say to critics of the president's?
I apologize for nothing.
Where was their criticism of our nation's failing test scores for the last several decades? The Department of Education was founded in the 1970s, and since then we have spent more than $3 trillion at this federal bureaucracy. What has been the return on that investment for the American taxpayer? Levels that are less than ideal, less than proficient. Our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math, and science test scores. The numbers prove that, and this president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to educators closest to students in their classrooms in their respective states. We're going to have a great event here later at 4 o'clock. There will be students here, teachers here, parents here, educators, and of course governors from around the country who are very excited about taking on this responsibility to educate our nation's students.
Who's going to run federal student loans?
So the Department of Education will be much smaller than it is today. As you know, the president's executive order directed Linda McMahon to greatly minimize the agency. So when it comes to student loans and Pell Grants, those will still be run out of the Department of Education, but we don't need to be spending more than $3 trillion over the course of a few decades on a department that's clearly failing in its initial intention to educate our students.
So is the federal government going to be
it's going to
spending
be
less?
much smaller than it is. Is it not going to be shut down completely? And then I have a second question.
As I said, Pell Grants and student loans will still be run out of the department in Washington, D.C., but the great responsibility of educating our nation's students will return to the states.
And the Department of Education plays a critical role in enforcing civil rights laws that prohibit discrimination.
Such as that will remain, but again, we're greatly reducing the scale and the size of this department.
What about federal Title I funding and special education funding? Is that still good?
Same answer. Yes.
Thanks, Caroline. On the Federal Reserve, the president criticized the rate decision yesterday. Is he looking to replace members of the Federal Reserve Board?
All right, so since they're changing questions, I want to stop right here for a second, and then we'll come back to this. So this is the important part, folks. This is what I need you to understand. The president cannot undo the entire federal Department of Education on his own. The president can control the funding. This is where the Section 2, Section 3 fight is coming from within the Constitution. So, look, all this is going to do today is start the framework to be able to start downsizing officially the Department of Education. So, for the short term, there will still be a federal Department of Education. What they're going to do, though, is make sure that everything at the actual to do with actual education itself has more local control. Now, the federal Pell Grants, all those things, while I think they should be abolished, if I'm being completely honest, are still going to be handled through the federal government. And I know some of you are, why do you think Pell Grants should be abolished? Because I used them. And all they did was make education more expensive. It makes it sound like you're getting a deal because the government's going to help you pay for all these things while you're going to school. But then you realize that comes with a very large stick and a very small carrot. And that actually created grades 13, 14, 15, and 16 instead of actually going into a specialized program, because that's what they found out, right? So all of education, whether it was an associate's degree, bachelor's degree, master's degree, doctorate, all those different things were different fields within the same, specialized form of education. So you were getting your associates to get a certain title within a specific thing, and then you were able to go on and get your bachelor's degree and then your master's degree. But the thing about that is those things stopped being a thing, and they had to because of what she was just talking about. There were kids going into college that couldn't read. There were kids going into college that couldn't do math at a college level. So it became a remedial program. It became something where in some cases, even if you were trying to get a 2-year degree, it took you 3 and 4 years to get it because they were having to reteach you the things that you didn't grasp in high school because nobody was paying attention and nobody gave a shit. How many kids do you know who can barely read? Because I know several. How many kids do you know that can barely write? I know several. That's sad. We can continue to blame the federal government, or we can remove them from the equation, see if things improve, and then if they don't, we can start moving the blame where it then belongs, which is squarely on the schools themselves, the educators themselves, and ultimately the parents of the children. Because you are the responsible party for how your children are raised and how they behave once you set them loose on the world. And we have forgotten that. And I don't know why we forgot it. I don't know when we forgot it. I don't know how we forgot it. But that's the truth of it. You are responsible for the gremlins that you send out into the universe once they're adults. After they're adults, they're responsible for whatever their consequences are. But you, in a lot of ways, folks, and I don't necessarily mean those listening to the show unless you're new around here because I don't know enough about you yet. You are the ones that have been setting up your children for failure with the participation trophies, with everybody should just get along, with the, it doesn't matter if with all these different things that have been being taught in our education system that none of us stood up against, that none of us said this far no further against until now. It's our fault. And I say this to you as Gen X. We wanted to be left alone. I didn't ever want to become politically involved. I didn't even know how. Now, with as much as I've enjoyed it and as much as I figured out what a passion I have for it, if I had known about it earlier, my life could be completely different. It's funny because there's a guy that does local radio here who's, been in state senate. I think it was state senate. And actually ran the damn thing. And has run campaigns. He was running campaigns for Oklahoma Congress critters right out of high school. I didn't know how to do any of that. If I did, there's no telling what I would have been able to accomplish. But I didn't know. I was always a history nerd. I loved things like mock trial. I loved law and government classes, all these different things that I took in high school. But while I was learning those things, I was also still thinking that there was something else that I was supposed to do. For some of us, it takes a long time for us to get comfortable in our own skin. There are a lot of things that I've been through in my life, both from when I was a kid and becoming an adult and then being an adult, that I didn't know how to process yet. And then finding what I thought was my place in the world and starting a company that actually did help keep people safe after everything else that I had already gone through, I really felt like that was my point in existence. And then one day that was all just completely stripped away from me, and I started looking at who I was again. I say all of this to you because I'm trying to make you understand. I understand the deep-seated pain that a lot of you are going through right now because you're watching everything that you thought you understood about the government being stripped away, and what you're seeing underneath has you terrified if you're paying attention. And it should. It should. I'm not saying any administration's hands are completely clean, but I am saying that things got really accelerated after Barack Obama made it possible for propaganda to be used against American citizens on American soil again. It's just the truth of it. Because if you are listening to him, he told you what his battle plan was. If you wanted to stabilize a country, all you have to do is rake enough crap into the streets that they start distrusting all of their institutions. This was the guy that made it legal for propaganda to be used on American soil against Americans again. I wonder why that is. But this is what I've been trying to explain now for forever. It is gut check time. If you thought the fight was over on November 5th, you haven't been listening to me. If you thought the fight was over on January 20th, you haven't been listening to me. If this hasn't shown you anything other than this, I need you to understand this fight is still ongoing. The left is on their heels right now. But we can't stop. We can't. Not only can't we, but we shouldn't. Apparently, I have a delivery coming or something because my dogs are going nuts. So I don't know if that's translating to the microphones or not, which is why you may have, for those of you who can read lips from a side view, that's why you heard me yelling, shut up, or saw me yelling, shut up, because my dogs won't stop. All right, so let's see what other quick trouble we can get into in the last few minutes of this segment. So, hang on. What? Okay. This is from Joseph McKinnon over from our friends at The Blaze. Anti-Trump FBI agent arrested trying to flee country charged with leaking confidential intel. This actually just came out today. Bouma, a critic of the Trump administration, allegedly printed out hundreds of files from FBI networks and shared them with associates. An FBI agent who accused the first Trump administration of political bias and claimed that former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani may have been compromised by Russian agents was arrested at New York's John F. Kennedy International Airport on Monday before he could flee the country. According to the criminal complaint filed Tuesday, Jonathan Bouma was charged with illegally disclosing confidential documents. Bouma, a 15-year FBI veteran and counterintelligence specialist who criticized the first Trump administration's handling of classified information, allegedly printed out nearly 130 files from internal FBI networks in October of 2023. At least eight of the files Bouma allegedly printed out contained sensitive information, reports relating to a foreign adversary, and some files contained information that confidential human sources provided to the FBI, which were clearly marked with protected warnings that made clear that the information was to be protected, according to the complaint. So apparently he's working on a book too. So Bouma allegedly also printed out screenshots of messages he exchanged with confidential sources via encrypted messaging application. Images containing information the complaint noted somehow ended up in a news article later that year. After he allegedly printed what he needed for his tell-all autobiographical book, Bouma notified his supervisors of intent to go on leave without pay. It appears that Bouma was not discreet about the planned contents of his book, however, during his unpaid sabbatical, sharing excerpts on social media and allegedly circulating a draft via email that allegedly includes the details about the Bureau's investigations into a foreign country's weapons of mass destruction program. The book draft contained information that Bouma obtained through his position as an FBI special agent that relates to the FBI's efforts and investigations into a foreign country's weapons of mass destruction program, again, according to the complaint. Federal agents raided Bouma's Los Angeles house in November of 2023. Mother Jones noted at the time that the search warrant said the agents were searching for classified documents and signs that Bouma may have unlawfully removed or retained national defense documents. According to the criminal complaint filed Tuesday, during their raid of his home, federal agents did not find any of the documents Bouma allegedly printed. The attorney representing Bouma after the raid claimed that the document search was retaliation for Bouma's complaints to congressional investigators about Giuliani's alleged interactions with foreign agents, as well as about supposed discrimination and bias at the Bureau. Bouma in 2023? Why would the Biden administration? Bouma previously claimed that there was a desire among his fellows at the same bureau that undermined President Donald Trump's campaign and presidency to scrutinize Hunter Biden's dodgy dealings, but not similarly to look into Trump's closest allies. I don't think anybody's buying what you're selling, my guy. In Bouma's case, the Bureau's conduct raised special concerns that counterintelligence activities targeting the Russian intelligence services are being blocked when they produce evidence that the Bureau considers politically embarrassing, said attorney Scott Horton. Although arraigned in a Brooklyn federal court on Tuesday, Bouma's case was reportedly transferred to California where the charges were filed. He has been released on a $100,000 bond. Big surprise. ABC News indicated that as of Wednesday night, Booma had not entered a plea and his attorney had not responded to a request for content. Dun, dun, dun. An encrypted link, you say? I'll have to look at that in a minute. All right, we are at top of the hour. I didn't even realize we were there. We're going to take a break. Final hour coming at you on the other side. For those of you working for the weekend, you are nearly there. If you're on the East Coast, it's about 2 o'clock your time, which means if you work until 5, you only got 3 hours left in this nightmare, and then one more day until the weekend. If you're in God's time zone, you got about 4. Left coast, holy shit, it's only 11 there. Get your asses out of bed. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, everybody. Hello, friends. Do you have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Minarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRNradio.
Are you ready to reach for the stars? Tune in to The Lost Wanderer, the #1 monthly podcast on good pods in astronomy. Join our host, Jeff, as he takes you on an interstellar adventure to explore the mysteries of space and the wonders of science. From rocket launches and distant galaxies to the latest discoveries in astronomy, each episode is a thrilling ride through the cosmos. Don't just gaze at the stars, come explore the universe with us. Follow The Lost Wanderer wherever you get your podcasts, and let's discover the stars together.
My dad was really, really special, and I loved my dad a lot.
I'm proud of him, and that even though he isn't here with us, but he died as a true hero.
I miss everything about him.
In the moment that the officers and I had to come see the children, my biggest reaction was, I don't have 7 arms. I have 7 children who just lost their father, and I don't have 7 arms to wrap around them.
I'm Frank Silla, chairman of the Stephen Silla Tunnel to Towers Foundation. Our foundation is committed to delivering mortgage-free homes for Gold Star families and fallen first responder families.
To not have to worry financially is a huge peace of mind. The thought of, what in the world will I possibly do to pay the bills? How will I possibly let the children have a life that feels normal? I don't want them to have to quit their piano lessons or their basketball. I don't want them to feel that we have to move into a little apartment and struggle financially in addition to the emotional weight.
There are over 1,000 families that need our help. Tunnel to Towers is honoring those heroes that risked their lives by providing them with mortgage-free homes.
Those who serve us and then lay down their lives protecting our freedoms and our safety, the least we can do is $11 a month to give them that peace of always knowing there's a home, there's that sanctuary when life feels like it's been tipped upside down, because it has when you lose a parent in the line of duty, to know you can go home, you can be safe, there's no risk of losing your home. That's a peace of mind that I can't believe you can get for $11 a month.
I'd like to ask you to contribute $11 a month to support their efforts.
Please donate $11 a month by calling 1-844-BRAVEST or visit tunneltotowers.org.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. powered by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Our government was established to secure these rights and for the good that comes from exercising them well. This is why the founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire. Hillsdale College, pursuing truth and defending liberty since 1844.
Ready to learn some medieval combat, kiddo?
You bet, Dad. Let's do this.
You know, spending quality time with your kids is important, but finding a fun and safe way to do it can really be a challenge. That's where halberds come in. Halberds are the perfect way to bond with your kid while teaching them about history and physical fitness. Plus, they're a blast to play with. So next time you're looking for some family fun activity, grab a halberd and get ready to make some memories.
Come on, Dad. Round 2.
Halberds, bringing families together one medieval battle at a time. This commercial brought to you by the KLRNradio.com Ad Council.
Hi.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
Been 10 long years since the devil laid his fiddle at Johnny's feet, and it burned inside his mind the way he suffered that defeat. In the darkest pits of hell, the devil hatched an evil plan to tempt the fiddle player, for he's just a mortal man. The sin of pride, the devil cried, is what will do you in.
I thought we had this settled. I'm the best it's ever been.
Johnny, did you ever know the time keeps marching on? The coldest hour is the one comes just before the dawn. The devil's back in Georgia, will you stand up to the test? Or will you let the devil be the best?
Truth is, I hadn't played much since the baby came in June. But give me half a minute and I'll get this fiddle back in tune.
The devil grabbed the golden fiddle out of Johnny's
Well, first,
hand and said,
I'd forgotten this was even a thing. And second, I thought it was kind of appropriate since we're talking about all the things that we've uncovered that have everybody freaking out for all the wrong reasons. But one of the bright spots for this thing for me has been none other than J.D. Vance himself. And I've got something I'm going to play here in a minute that showcases exactly why I love the guy. And I said what I said. I think there's a clip. I think. Hang on. So hang on. This is actually, I think, the full episode, though. So I don't want to do that. Yeah. Okay. So hang on. I think I have the clip I was looking for bookmarked elsewhere. One moment, please. All right. So hang on. I found it. One moment, please.
How are you doing the job differently than Kamala did it?
Well, I don't have 4 shots of vodka before every meeting. That's one way I think that Kamala really tried to bring herself into the role is these word salads, and I think that I would need the help of a lot of alcohol to answer a question the way that Kamala Harris answered questions. I mean, look, man, I don't know. My sense is, and this is a little bit of guesswork. Obviously, I don't talk to Kamala Harris or Joe Biden very often, but my sense is that.
How are you doing the job differently than Kamala did it?
All right, so there you heard it from the man himself. I don't imbibe in 4 or 5 shots of vodka before I go talk. Trust me, they knew. They knew. They knew who the cocaine belonged to. They knew who was imbibing. They knew. The left didn't care, because if you bring that up, then you're the morality police. Unless it's the other side. And then if you don't hold your side accountable for all those things, then you're a hypocrite. Look, you know what? I'm done playing the game by their rules. That's been my entire take since November 5th. I'm done playing the game by their rules, because when we play by their rules, we lose. So if you guys thought that Zelensky had figured things out, you're wrong. In case you haven't seen this yet, we're going to talk about this next. And I have no idea if there's an interpreter. I have no idea what language this is in, but we're going to play it anyway. And then I'm going to explain to you exactly what he's saying in this video if I have to explain it. And hopefully I don't, but we'll see. Yeah, I messed up again. Hang on. I hit the wrong button again. What's this button do? Don't ask that question, Krista. Don't do it. Some of you are like, what the hell are you talking about? Challenger explosion. You'll figure it out in a minute.
First of all, any negotiations, it's a very it's a chance to finish the war. So far, the Russians are not showing that they're ready to finish the war. With regard to the Crimean territory, that would be one of the sensitive and complex issues at the future. The first step is one thing. Ceasefire, of course, we need to cross some grounds to get there in order to have quiet sky and quiet seas. So they are the correct steps if we want to end the war with a just peace. And then we'll be moving to other questions. Amongst them, of course, will be territory questions. The red line for us, it's if the temporarily occupied Ukrainian territories will be considered Russian, we would not agree to that.
All right. So, and the funny thing is, if you interact with any leftist on Twitter, one of the first things they ask you, well, is if Russia started attacking America, what territories would you be okay with ceding to Russia? Let me make you a list, Vlad. Washington State, Oregon, California, New York. I can think of more. I'm just saying, there are lots of places that I wouldn't necessarily mind, not being part of our nightmare anymore. But what this proves to me, sorry, I'm fighting to get a cigar lid here. What this proves to me is no matter what lip service Zelensky is giving, he doesn't get it. Because the one thing that I need you guys to understand, when he's talking about temporarily held Ukrainian territories, he's not talking about just within the last 3 years. He wants everything back that Obama allowed Russia to take all the way back in, 2014, 2013, somewhere in there, 2013, 2012. Around that same time that he won the midterm election and basically told the Russian, the Russian ambassador, tell Vladimir I'll have more latitude once this election is over. I wonder what exactly that meant. I think we saw the fruits of it when they just waltzed into Crimea. Nobody stopped him. Nobody said anything. The left didn't even care. This was within weeks of, well, I say weeks. I guess it was a little bit past weeks. But this was within months of the snark comment heard around the world when Romney tried to tell everybody during a debate that Russia was one of our biggest geopolitical foes still. And Obama said the 1980s have called and they want their foreign policy back. That made the rounds everywhere. And it was funny. I'll admit, even I laughed. I rolled my eyes because I knew the truth even back then, but I still laughed because it was funny. It's not funny anymore because have you noticed all we ever hear from the left is every time the Democrats are in power, the economy gets better, and every time the Republicans are in power, the economy gets worse. It's all we hear every single time. What's the other correlation though? What goes on a lot more often under Democrats than under Republicans? Wars and new wars and forever wars. This language just spoken by Zelensky solidifies the fact that this man is still basically looking for a forever war. The problem is he doesn't have enough people to win a forever war. Russia does. Attrition is a thing. We're watching a World War II style meat grinder thing going on in Europe right now, and Zelensky wants to keep fighting to the last man to get every ounce of Ukrainian territory back. Sue for peace, and then figure out the rest. Not saying anybody needs to lay down their weapons. That's stupid. Don't give up your guns. Hell, I'm going to be honest, they probably never should have given up their atomic weapons because America doesn't keep their word. We haven't for a long time. We like to say we do, but look at all the strings that we've put on all the things that have been supposedly to make the world a better place. We're starting to keep our word now, though. And I have a story that we'll be getting to in just a minute about that too, but I need to go to this first because this actually just came out right as I was going on the air and I meant to get to it and I got distracted. Apparently there's a showdown at Foggy Bottom. Doge uses police to evict barricaded bureaucrats. I think this may be an older story, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Doge employees, with the aid of a master key and DC Metropolitan Police Department officers, finally gained control of the massive office building in Foggy Bottom on Monday, ending a standoff by U.S. Institute of Peace bureaucrats barricaded in their offices. On Monday evening, Doge employees, accompanied by police officers and high-ranking administration officials, stormed the building using a master key provided by the building security service, precipitating a brief scuffle before the building was liberated. The incident began on February 19th when President Trump signed an executive order firing the head of the USIP, replacing him with a State Department official and ordering the agency wound down to its statutory minimum. The chairman of USIP's board, George Moose, never squirrel, always moose, determined that President Trump did not have the authority to take over the agency. Friday evening, Doge staffers arrived and were denied entry to the building. How exactly did this guy determine the president didn't have authority? And I know we talked about this a little bit. I thought there might have been something new here. We're going to go through this part of it real quick, though. So the opening salvo of the executive branch USIP class came Friday night when Jackson, the newly appointed USIP president, arrived at headquarters with Doge staffers and FBI agents to enforce Trump's leadership changes. The official said a USIP lawyer, apparently recognizing a few faces from the flyer, carped that the order was unlawful and invalid, prompting the Trump officials to withdraw for the night. Over the weekend, Moose, and not Squirrel, and other USIP leaders intensified their resistance plot by holding an emergency meeting, firing the Institute's security contractors, a company called Intercon, to block Doge access, a move the administration officials said was illegal, and implementing lockdown measures, including removing the electronic access systems Intercon employees used to enter, as well as destroying physical locks entirely. So while we have touched on this before, we hadn't done such a deep dive onto it, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. The Leviathan known as the federal government is going to do everything that it can to fight for its survival. There is a nest, an embedded group of people that have survived across multiple administrations for decades. that are having their power base attacked, and they don't like it, and they're going to do everything that they can to fight it. And they're going to use whatever capital they have access to get to the leftist groups that do all these things that they always do with all the astroturfs and this, that, and the other that are popping up in Republican areas. And I guarantee you there are leftist instigators that are ones that are lighting the Teslas on fire in car lots and going after people and saying, you bought Teslas, so now you're going to have to pay. This is terrorism, ladies and gentlemen. Terrorism, plain and simple. It is the very terrorism that the left tried to create January 6th and build it up into, but we're watching it play out in real time, and they don't give a fuck. The scariest thing about all of this is not only that they don't give a fuck about the terroristic aspects, it's that they don't give a fuck about their prize goose, the goose that lays all their golden eggs, climate change. Climate change is a myth. They prove it to you over and over and over again, but because of the power of the mainstream media, or as I call them now, the zombie media, which are becoming even more dangerous because now they're fighting for what they think are still their lives too, not realizing that they themselves, as far as media organizations, are pretty much already dead, which is why I call them the zombie media. It's twofold. What happens when you come in contact with a zombie? If you're not careful, you become one yourself. So the reason I started calling them the zombie media is because I've come to the realization that pretty much every aspect of what created them no longer exists. They have become the very thing they once swore to fight, and they're already dying or dead and just don't even know it yet. But the longer people pay attention to them, the longer they partake in those particular brands of information, the more likely they are to become zombies all their own. And if you don't believe me, just look at what's happening to Tesla dealerships all around the country. Elon Musk should be being heralded as a hero because he is showing to you the people that have been stealing your money and my money for decades. And it's the people that were inside the vault already. Nobody came in to steal the money. They were already here. Ladies and gentlemen, the call was coming from inside the house. Your government has been lying to you and robbing you blind for years, and hoping you didn't notice. And because they have all these magical money machines that we're now starting to find out exist, actual unicorns that can just make money whenever they need them to, and just it's ones and zeros. We can just put it out into the system, and presto changeo, we has monies. Why don't you and I have that option? We're supposed to be the government, right? We're the ones that determine the course of the country through our voting records, through our decisions that we make, and who we decide to send to DC, who is supposed to represent your voice and my voice. Same thing with school boards, same things with city councils, etc. We are the ones that shape the government. So if we're the ones that shape the government, if our government can print money whenever the hell it wants, why can't we? When we do that, it's a crime. It's called counterfeit. When they do it, it's sanctioned, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them what it does to your buying power or your spending power or any of the above, because it's how they stay afloat. The Band-Aids are coming off. The masks are being removed. The curtains are being pulled back in all of these different places. And half of the country, instead of being mad at the right people, are pissed off at the people that are putting in the work so that you can finally see the truth. How did we get here? How did we get here? Because I just don't understand it. I would love to pretend that I do. I just don't. This is nuts to me. Uh-oh. Let's see. Is this new? It just came out. So have they actually already started pursuing? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, they're not bluffing this time. So this is from our friends at Red State, put out by Susie Moore. Apparently, AG Bondi has announced severe charges in Tesla arson cases. So let's see if this is new information or not. Since leftists have shifted or expanded the object from the ire of the President Donald Trump himself to Elon Musk and his Doge efforts, there's been a series of attacks on Tesla. Vehicles and dealerships alike, charging stations also, because nothing says preserving democracy like domestic terrorism. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security have affirmed they are taking these incidents seriously and thoroughly investigating them in addition to the raft of swatting incidents that have cropped up. This is from Dan Bongino himself. Communication and transparency are my priorities. We work for you, the American citizen. Our teams are actively working on the Tesla incidents and the swatting incidents, along with our other responsibilities to keep the homeland safe. Thank you, Dan. On Thursday, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced charges against 3 individuals suspected of causing the destruction of Tesla property. This is from the U.S. Department of Justice account. Today, AG Pam Bondi announced charges against 3 individuals responsible for the violent destruction of Tesla properties. You can read more at justice.gov/OPA/PR/attorney. I'm assuming the rest of that's Attorney General. But this is from the press release, so you don't have to click on the link. The days of committing crimes without consequences have ended, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Let this be a warning. If you join this wave of domestic terrorism against Tesla properties, the Department of Justice will put you behind bars. One defendant, also armed with a suppressed AR-15 rifle, I thought they hated those things, was arrested after throwing approximately 8 Molotov cocktails at a Tesla dealership located in Salem, Oregon. Another was arrested in Loveland, Colorado, after attempting to light Teslas on fire with Molotov cocktails. That defendant was later found in possession of materials used to produce additional incendiary weapons. In Charleston, South Carolina, a third defendant wrote profane messages against President Trump around Tesla charging stations before lighting the charging stations on fire with Molotov cocktails. Each defendant faces serious charges carrying a minimum penalty of 5 years and up to 20 years in prison. One would hope that the swift response from law enforcement and the prospect of serving serious jail time for their Tesla terrorisms might prompt some would-be vandals to reconsider their methods, perhaps try traditional boycotts. I hear those sometimes bear fruit. But I hate to tell you this, folks, but this is pretty much going to be the response of the left of these things. They're not going to care. They're going to keep doing it until they're the ones that are actually picked up for these things. They're going to keep doing it. I am, considering I opened the show ranting about the lack of activity, I'm glad to see there's been some movement because this shit's been going on for days. I'm sorry, there's no reason, in my opinion, that this should have taken this long. I'm just being honest, but I am glad to see that apparently there has been some movement in that regard. So I feel like I can be a little less critical of Pam Bondi. I will say she has not impressed me very much so far. I'm just being honest. I know that doesn't make some of you happy, but it's just the truth. All right. So we're going to get to one last clip, I think, before we take the break. If we run a little bit long, it's fine. We're at the bottom of the hour break. Anyway, that's just for anybody that may run this later. Let's see. It's not that long, so I think we'll be all right. So Tom Homan just, again, did an appearance on Fox News. I will say that as much as I like seeing people like this on the news, at the same time, I'm kind of like, shouldn't you be, off doing other things? But then again, he's actually just the czar. So he's one of those people that I don't even really understand why their position exists in the first place. I don't like the czars. I never have, never will. All right, but here, this one's kind of kick-ass, I'll be honest. But I still don't even know why the title exists in the first place.
AOC, your buddy, recently had a few choice words to say about you, Tom. Watch.
Every time you see Tom Homan on Fox News, every time you see these law enforcement officials doing flashy television interviews, understand that they are taking attention and focus and real dollars and real resources away from actual drug enforcement, trafficking enforcement, actually going after and actually trying to investigate really harmful activity that is happening.
Tom, your response to her.
Look, I take pleasure in the fact I can live in her mind rent-free every day. That means I'm over the target. That means I'm making a difference. Bottom line is, she needs to look at the data. ICE is out. We've already arrested more criminal illegal aliens in 6 weeks than the Biden administration did in a year. The border is sealed, 96% decline in illegal immigration. And when 96% less people are coming across that border, how many children aren't dying? How many women aren't being sex trafficked? How many non-suspected terrorists aren't getting in the country? How many pounds of fentanyl isn't getting in to kill Americans? This administration has done more for the safety and security of New York than she's ever done or ever will do. So we're going to keep doing what we do. I'm not running a popularity contest. If she don't like me, I'll wear that as a badge of honor. That means I'm doing the right thing.
Tom, as always, great to see you. Thank you so much.
All right, so I've made an executive decision. We are not taking a break, at least not yet. I actually found a Behind Enemy Lines clip that ties into the next thing that I wanted to talk about. So we're going to use that, and then we're going to take the break when they take the break, or we may just go commercial free. I haven't decided yet. It's my show. I can do what I want. But before we get too far into that, I want to make sure that we are doing this properly because I thought I had that fixed already. All right. So one of the people that I absolutely love in this administration, you're about to hear about right now. So without further ado, here are our friends from Behind Enemy Lines Radio. If you missed it last night, here's a good clip of it. You can always go back and check it out on their YouTube or Rumble channel if you missed us rebroadcasting it around midnight Eastern.
But it's actually quite a good segue to a clip that Galloway asked me to get, and we're going to talk about that first and foremost. But before we get to this clip, I'm going to ask everybody, please subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows wherever you are, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Rumble, or X. Like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that really good stuff. And like the live stream, if you're watching right now, it's going to help the show get out to a lot more people, and we can get a good conversation going in here. If you're here right now, hit us up in the chat, and we'll be happy to talk to you as well. So, speaking of pain in the ass judges, a federal court judge, I forget his name, and frankly, I don't want to even mention him or promote him, issued an order, a district court judge. For those of you who don't know, district court judges are the lowest in the federal system. Doesn't mean that they are not of esteem. It just means that they are the primary entry level into the federal judiciary. And that judge, while a flight of gangbangers was outbound, headed towards Venezuela, ruled that the federal government, the Trump administration, had to turn the plane around and bring these vicious and violent illegal aliens back to the U.S., pal. What do you think?
I think it sucks. The goal, like, I don't understand, Gene, because, like, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm somewhat familiar with the Constitution, right? The executive branch under Article 2 gives the president pretty much full purview over foreign affairs, which this could fall under. The Alien Enemies Act, which if he declares an invasion, which he did, and deemed this subset of invaders to be a threat to national security, he can expel them from the country. So I just don't understand where a district judge somewhere in the country that was obviously venue shopped or judge shopped, like that the lefts like to do, they found a sympathetic judge who made a ridiculous order. And I know we have a clip, but the long and short of it is the judge made a verbal order to turn those planes around and bring them back. And there's an argument whether or not the verbal order was prior to them leaving, United States airspace. The administration saying by the time the written order was published or posted, that was clearly they were outside of United States airspace. There was, no legal justification to turn them back around. But I don't know what he thinks was going to happen. Like a DOJ lawyer was going to pick up the phone and call the Air Force and say, patch me through to the pilot and turn it around. Like, I don't know what they thought was going to happen.
This isn't a situation where I can just wave a magic wand and make it go away.
Let's just say a lot of people have opinions about this. Some people out there like Elon Musk calling for judges like this to be impeached, which prompted Chief Justice Roberts to speak out publicly about this, which to me, that's a complete and total mistake. The Chief Justice shouldn't have done that. I think that falls into a a judicial no-no in the sense that he is prejudging the argument before it's even made at that point. And I don't think that, while I appreciate him wanting to protect his turf and protect, other judges out there, certainly not the right thing to do. And I think that was a misstep prompted by the backlash, which may be rightfully so. This is not a case I've studied too much, but I am willing to listen to both sides. And Ross, you gave me this clip of Stephen Miller appearing on Fox News reacting to Andrew Weissman from MSDNC, famous for being the second command in the Mueller investigation against Donald Trump. So not exactly the most neutral of opinions here on either side, but I'm sure between the two of us, we can piece together where the true issues lie. I think we're pretty good at issue spotting. So let's get to this clip right here.
This first from somebody who I know is not a favorite of President Trump. This is Andrew Weissman, who's a former top Mueller prosecutor. Of course, it's not a huge surprise that he didn't like this operation. He doesn't think it's legal under the act that you just mentioned, Stephen. Watch.
We're not at war with Venezuela. We're not at war with the gang that is the subject of the executive order. There is no invasion that is going on. And you also have to show that the people you're removing are actually part of that gang, even if there were an invasion or a war. And this statute may, in fact, be very unconstitutional.
So the judge.
All right, so let's leave it there. It seems like Weissman, on first blush here, just listening to his arguments, he doesn't get the modern concept of invasion and how wars have changed. We are now not at war with nation states most of the time. We're at war with international organizations, international terror organizations, like when we talk about going to war with the Taliban or Al-Qaeda. Those are international conflicts, and certainly when you have international bad actors like this coming to the country and causing crimes and arguably domestic terrorism, why shouldn't an act from the 1700s apply? After all, the Constitution is a document from the 1700s. That certainly still applies.
Yeah, and once again, Democrats are forced to take an extremely unpopular position. They are defending Venezuelan gang members who are charged with horrific crimes like rape, murder, and child sexual assault and exploitation. It's so bad that people like Charlemagne over on the Breakfast Club actually commented on this.
Deporting illegal immigrants who have committed crimes, I understand that.
Shouldn't be a problem, right? Shouldn't be an issue.
So why are folks fighting about gang members being sent away? Like, there's some other deportation cases I'm sure they could be fighting about, like folks who've been in this country for a long time, not committing no crimes, paying taxes, but have gotten caught up in the process. Those are folks they should be fighting for. Why are they raising hell about a gang being deported?
And said, like, I can't believe the Democrats are planting their flag here on this one. This is ridiculous.
Is this the hill I want to die on?
Stephen Miller has some thoughts here, and I'm sure that you are going to be applauding this like crazy, right?
Fantastic. Stephen Miller is the way to do it, people. Listen up.
Well, I'm not prejudging. I haven't seen the clip. I just downloaded it and put it into the system here. So let's hear this.
The judge has to be convinced that these individuals aren't real. I mean, it's a huge group, and nobody's going to miss any of these people, but they're quantifiable. So can you prove that these individuals were linked with Tren de Aragua and that Tren de Aragua is part of a Maduro operation, Stephen?
So first of all, Andrew Weissman is an absolute moron. He is a moron, and he's a fool, and he's a degenerate. Andrew Weissman
coming in too hot. Okay.
A degenerate.
so just from a point of advocacy here, if this is the way you're going to start your argument, to me, it sounds like you might have a weak argument. I'm trying to be objective here. You know what side I fall on.
So before you play the rest, Gene, obviously Weissman, there's a history there.
Yeah, of course.
It's not so it gets better. He has substance here.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that this is the difference between a political argument and let's say a legal argument. The political argument, this might charge up your base. This might be considered red meat out there, but he's really not said anything substantively. I want to get to the substance, Stephen. Let me know what you're saying here.
Has devoted his career to putting innocent Americans in jail, taking away their civil liberties. He was involved in the Mueller coup against a democratically elected President Donald J. Trump. Weissman should never be on TV anywhere. He should hang his head in eternal shame for what he's done to this country. And now he's up there shilling for people who rape and murder Americans. That's who Andrew Weissman is. I met the mother of Jocelyn Nungary, Alexis Nungary, who President Trump honored at the State of the Union, named a national wildlife refuge after her daughter. Trained Nicaragua terrorists took that 12-year-old angel and they tortured her to death. They sexually assaulted her. They stripped her and they dumped her body in a river. That's who President Trump has deported from this country. Behind every single one of those terrorists was another future rape victim, another future sex trafficking victim, another future murder victim. And most importantly, every one of those people was here illegally. They have no right to be in this country for 1 second longer. They are illegal aliens, they are foreign terrorists, they are alien enemies. And the law at the heart of this issue was signed in the founding generation of this country, the same generation that wrote our Constitution. People say, oh, it's an 18th century law. You know what else is an 18th century law? The Constitution of the United States, the Bill of Rights of the United States.
Hey, I said that. I'm pretty spot on. I haven't heard a substantive argument yet, though, Galloway. I appreciate the anger and I appreciate the fiery nature of Stephen Miller, even though some see it as off-putting. But he's choosing not to answer the question of where is, and these are baseline questions. I'm sure that we can prove it. Where is the proof that they are parts of this gang? Is there a connection to Maduro? I think as a matter of law, those are elements that have to be proven here, no?
If you looked up, I don't know if you've actually read the text of the law, it doesn't say you have to be at war with a country necessarily. That's like one clause, and then it followed by or an invasion and posing a threat to national security. So like that they check those boxes.
You make a good point. Let's look up the law and see what it says. Let's see if I can pull it up here.
A few moments later.
Okay.
So while you're looking that up, Gene, for anyone who wants to actually read the executive order, this was one of the best executive orders I've ever read, because every part of that executive order ties back in to the text of the actual law that they're using to deport these people. And it gives example after example of why it's complying with this law.
More on that later.
Whenever there is a declared war between the United States and any foreign nation or government, or any invasion or predatory incursion is perpetrated, attempted, or threatened against the territory of the United States by any foreign nation or government, and the president makes public proclamation of the event, all natives, citizens, denizens, or subjects of the hostile nation or government being of the age of 14 years and upward, who shall be within the United States and not actually naturalized, shall be liable to be apprehended, restrained, secured, and removed as alien enemies. Now, in that first sentence, pal, the invasion would have to be done by, let me just find the section here again. It would have to be done by any foreign nation or government. That might be the rub here. You would have to connect Tren de Aragua to the nation of Venezuela. Do you see what I'm saying there in that respect?
Yeah, so if you can, I'm trying to find it now as we speak. We need to pull up Trump's executive order where he does tie them. They fund Tren de Aragua. They participate in the Maduro government. They are intertwined. They are a Venezuelan gang. They're not a gang that spontaneously was, popped up here. They came from there. And President Trump did declare an invasion from these countries.
Okay, so now I'm going to stop sharing that screen, and I'm going to start sharing another screen. And this is, I believe, the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. Let's take a look at what it says here. So Tren de Aragua, designated a foreign terrorist organization, thousands of members, many of whom have unlawfully infiltrated the United States, operates in conjunction with Cartel de las Soles, the Nicolas Maduro regime-sponsored narco-terrorism enterprise based in Venezuela. Bingo! Tren de Aragua is closely aligned with and indeed has infiltrated the Maduro regime, including its military and law enforcement apparatus. This has to be backed up, I'm sure, by State Department and DOD and other national security agencies, all those alphabet soup organizations. Tren de Aragua soon significantly, while Tariq El Asiami served as governor of Aragua between 2000. Oh, he has chapter and verse here. I agree with you, pal. Like Asami, Nicolas Maduro, who claims to act as Venezuela's president and asserts control over the security forces and other authorities in Venezuela, also maintains close ties with regime-sponsored narco-terrorists. So they wouldn't be saying this if they couldn't back it up, pal. I do concede that point. So therefore, the part of the Alien Enemies Act that we just referenced would be fulfilled, presumably if the United States government can show this connection between Maduro and Tren de Aragua.
Case closed.
But if you read the actual law again, nowhere in there does it say that these people need to be brought before a court. It's all at the discretion of the president. Now, there's some questions whether or not that's constitutional, but it's never been challenged. It's full discretion of the president to declare the invasion and to determine who is under it and who gets deported and how and detained for how long.
Right, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely, and moreover, the president is authorized in any such event by his proclamation thereof or other public act to direct the conduct to be observed on the part of the United States towards the aliens who became so liable, the manner and degree of the restraint to which they shall be subject, and in what cases, and upon what security their residence shall be permitted, and to provide for the removal of those who, not being permitted to reside within the United States, refuse or neglect to depart therefrom, and to establish any other regulations which are found necessary in the premises and for the public safety. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show. It gives the president very wide-ranging abilities, as you think a president would have in the event of a foreign invasion. It seems to be pretty logical to me.
Yeah, I mean, even if there was going to be a question, to be brought before the courts, I find it hard to believe that a district judge can just unilaterally tell the executive branch to turn planes around and bring people back until a district court judge makes a decision. Like, that to me is insane. Let it work its way through the process, and eventually it's going to have to go to the Supreme Court, right? Like, this is clearly a constitutional issue. On its face, it looks like he's obeying the law. If there's a question as to whether or not that law is in fact unconstitutional, well, then I'm pretty sure it's going to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And what are we just going to do? Allow an invasion to happen in the meantime?
Right. I mean, the whole point of the law is to give the president the powers and the ability to act swiftly in the face of a foreign invasion. And I think this judge, I hate when these federal judges make these decisions out of their portion of a judicial district that then apply nationwide. We saw a lot of this during the lawfare of the first Trump administration as well. There's got to be a way to get these decisions moved up the ladder quickly, which stays of enforcement unless and until it gets affirmed or overturned later on. Go ahead.
Which, by the way, you had mentioned what Chief Justice Roberts said when he opined on whether or not some of these judges should be impeached. And yes, he did overstep, not only for the reason you mentioned, where he's like prejudging a case. First of all, impeachment, as we have been educated by the Democratic Party in Trump's first term, is a political process carried out by the Congress. It has nothing to do with the court system, right? The Chief Justice actually presides over the hearing in the Senate, but he has no real role, right? He's just there. So he should have never mentioned that. And if Chief Justice Roberts really felt strongly about what he is saying, there is a fix. There's two ways to do it, really. Congress can pass a law limiting jurisdiction and certain aspects of what the court can and cannot do, or the Supreme Court can give guidance to district courts on nationwide injunctions and other things that affect the entire nation.
So where do we go from here?
I think at this point, Congress needs to act to sort of corral these federal district court judges from these nationwide TROs and provisional remedies that they love to grant under Donald Trump. And to be fair, it happened under Biden as well. I don't think that should happen at this point. There's got to be a mechanism within our legislature to limit the powers of these provisional remedies. They got to go back into the they got to go back to Civ Pros, got to go back to civil procedure class, go through the federal rules of civil procedure and figure out the powers that the court has to grant these provisional remedies when it comes to restraining the federal government from using constitutional powers. I don't have the solution to that, but there's got to be that discussion, especially now in these next 2 years when you have Trump, the House, and the Senate all working together.
Well, there's also got to be repercussions, right? Like, okay, you can say impeachment might not be okay for federal judges. I disagree with that. I understand the high crime and misdemeanors aspect of an impeachment and a removal, but what other recourse is there? Let's say you have and we do. You have lots of rogue federal judges that do not believe in reading the Constitution. They just believe in doing whatever the left kind of like brainwashed them into believing. So what is the repercussion? They have lifetime appointments. So during good behavior, what is good behavior? If they're not following the Constitution and they're overturned consistently or they're overstepping their bounds, I think impeachment should be on the table for federal judges, or we need to amend the Constitution to create some other mechanism where they don't serve for lifetime tenure. That's crazy.
Well, there are ways that other nations deal with their judiciaries that are kind of interesting. For instance, when I went to South Korea, and I had to handle a case in South Korea for a couple of years back, and I found that what they do, because they're such a smaller country than us, is they actually rotate their judges out in certain year terms from being a lower court judge to an appellate court judge to even going to their constitutional court. And they rotate them around and through. And then they also have mandatory retirement at 65. So those are just some examples of how at least one of the place does it. I just appeared before an octogenarian judge who loved to hear himself speak for hours. I don't know if he should still be hearing cases, to be perfectly honest with you. So it's not a perfect system, to be perfectly honest, but Trump and Republicans have an opportunity here to sort of fix that system going forward. Whether they do or not remains to be seen. But at least in this particular case, the battleground being set up here is going to be about the application of a law from the 1700s and how it would apply to a modern 21st century problem when it comes to geopolitical interactions, international relations, and this new sort of warfare that we have, where it's not necessarily nations that are at war, but factions are at war involved with nations, and it gets much stickier than the law contemplated back in the 1700s.
It certainly does. Yeah, I mean, you're right, and it should work its way through the courts. But in the meantime, like the Constitution is not a suicide pact type of thing. Do we just allow an invasion until something works its way through the appellate system? Like, that's what a lot of judges say. Like, oh, well, we'll just have to, let it work its way through. We don't fast track everything to the Supreme Court. I don't know. I think the Supreme Court should have original jurisdiction on anything that is a constitutional issue that could affect the whole country.
Well, here's the thing. Let's talk about the ramifications of, the stay and the provisional remedy that was granted here. It's not like these people are going to be let out of whatever holding they're in. They're going to remain in if I don't even know if the plane did turn around. But let's say it did. Plane turns around, returns back to the United States. It's not like these people are put back into the world. They're not put back into our cities, our neighborhoods. They're still being held. We're bearing the cost of holding them. and maybe that's something that should be addressed here. But it's not like the ramifications are that there's anything immediate that must be done. There's no there's an emergency, but there's no impending doom. There's no actual significant emergency.
I would disagree, Gene, because we don't know, were they detained prior to them getting on that plane, or were they scooped up recently because of their affiliation with TDA? If they weren't pending any other charges and they didn't have a deportation order through the normal immigration process, then there might not be any legal means to hold them.
Well,
you might have to release them back into the street.
That's not true, because as we learned with the case of Mahmoud Khalil, you don't necessarily have to have committed a crime in order to be detained pending a deportation proceeding. So the only prejudice here is the cost of detaining, and many jurisdictions, including here in New York, say that irreparable harm or any sort of pending emergency cannot be money. You see what I'm saying? So I think they're still going to be able to be held, and I think that the only thing that this is costing us is money and time. If you like the show Behind Enemy Lines, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you don't miss any other shows, and tune in live every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
And folks, believe it or not, that's going to take us to pretty much the end of the program here. We're down to about 3 minutes until I definitely have to go. So hang on. Before we go too far, though, because I was looking for something, because I just saw, apparently there's a Pentagon briefing going on, but I can't seem to find the feed anywhere. And I don't know. I'm finding it on YouTube, but I've noticed that a lot of these channels that say they're live just basically rerun the same videos over and over and over again. So I don't know if this is actually happening or not. I do know this is from Ward Clark over at Red State Dateline today and came out at about 1:32 my time, so just a few minutes ago. Trump apparently has been vindicated. Explosive report confirms Iran is directing Houthi rebels. Is anybody surprised? Anybody? No, wrong one. Bueller. Because, yeah, not really surprised. Anyway, so President Trump has been leaning on Iran to cease their support for Houthi rebels in Yemen, who are launching attacks on shipping in the Red Sea and the Gulf of Aden. A new report now reveals that not only have top Iranian military leaders been providing support for the Houthis, but Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, is personally involved. All right, so we will get into more of this probably tonight on Jen and Rick, I am sure. And if there's anything that breaks too heavily, of course, you can always follow along with me on my X feed. I will be out of touch for the next couple of hours. I've got a meeting, but I should be back in plenty of time to do everything else for tonight. But we're going to get out of here, folks. We have reached that point in the program. Whether anybody wants us to be here or not, we're already here. I would like to thank everybody for taking the time to hang out. Numbers are a little bit lower today than they have been for the last couple of days, but that's kind of average on a Thursday. So I will take it. We had almost 150 of you hanging out on the numbers that I can see, and some of them don't update until later. So that's pretty solid for a Thursday, especially since this is my third day in. And it's been a while since I've done the full 4-day stint. But I'll be back tonight. First, make sure you hang out for the cocktail. I almost said the cocktail lunch. The Culture Shift crew with Brad with the good hair and our favorite Amish guy doing everything they can to bring you the pop culture, the political lines, and all the things that are technically supposed to be downstream from pop culture, where all the lines are crossed and all the streams are crossed as well. Make sure you guys hang out for that one. And then Jen and I should be live at 10 Eastern. If something changes, I will let you know. Once we are done with that, we will go over to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, who, as far as I know, is supposed to be back live tonight. So we will have our last call in the saloon starting at 11 p.m. Eastern right here live on KLRN Radio. But we've reached the point in the program, ladies and gentlemen, where I do have to tell you, whether I want to or not, that this one is over.
What? Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
This isn't over until I say it's over!
Closing time.
Well, that's great. That's just fucking great, man. Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? Game over, man. It's game over.
Closing time. Time for you to go out to the places you will be from. Closing time. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come.
I love you, Oklahoma. What a great crowd. I love you.